businesses from IT companies, huge companies. So it's up to us to get together, to be a big force and to make the most out of the opportunities that we have. So the opportunities knocking at the door, we have to see, are we ready to take it up? Are we ready to open the door and welcome them? As I said, WeConnect has been very influential in my business networking. I would also like to tell a word about TIE. In 2008, when I started my business, when I quit, I was a typical corporate working woman for 50 years with two small kids, and then I quit the job. I wanted to start off on my own. And when you are in the corporate environment, you have so many people around you, so much of support system everywhere. When you sit at home, when you quit the job and you want to start, you start sitting at home and then thinking what to do. You don't start with a flash office. And you feel very alone and left out because everybody's wondering what are you up to, what are you doing, you're doing nothing. And that's when you have to come out into the open and network, meet people. You know, don't be at home thinking, making your plans alone. That's when TIE has been very supportive in those formative years of my business. So it's like a mother holding a child and teaching her to walk. That's the kind of support I got from TIE. And WeConnect is like a father figure who is now making my very strong to fly further. It's shown me a larger horizon. Now I'm not looking at only business in Mumbai or India. I'm looking at the world. The world is a global market for me. There's so many opportunities that have opened up. So let's now understand more from the experts. I would invite Zankhana Kaur. She's been the pillar of strength for TIE's Stree Shakti and a very close friend of mine who has always been there for me whenever I pick up the phone and call her. She's there to help me out. Zankhana, please tell something about TIE.
Thank you, Priya. Thanks for the lovely introduction, and we feel like a very motherly organization today, and it feels very warm. So a little bit about TIE. TIE is basically the world's largest non-profit for entrepreneurs. We are spread across 62 chapters in 62 countries, and we have 17 in India, 17 chapters. Within TIE, we have TIE's Stree Shakti, which is the women's arm, a platform for women entrepreneurs. And we work on the MIND concept, which is mentoring, inspiration, networking, and education. So just like Priya mentioned, we help early stage and startup entrepreneurs to start out, take them to a particular level with all these different kinds of programs that we do through the years and months. And there are programs both at TIE and TIE Stree Shakti, which I would invite all of you entrepreneurs to be there. A lot of our members are also there, and at some point during the networking, you should connect to see how you can benefit from this network. So that's a little bit about TIE. And in terms of TIE Stree Shakti, I think we Sunita and I go back a long way. And with both the connects of Priya and Sunita, we said, let's do this collaborative program, because we definitely don't believe in competition. And with as many networks that we can all get together and do different programs for the benefit of entrepreneurs, this is one such initiative. Thank you.
I would like to now invite Sunita, who is from the organizing company. It's now all the way from Bangalore, and she tells us about WeConnect.
Thank you, Priya. Good afternoon to all of you. Very warm welcome. 50% of the global population are women. More than 70% of the decisions consumer spend is made by women. 90% of what women earn, they give it back to their families. But yet, if you see the global supply chain, women are almost invisible. So this is exactly the gap that we at WeConnect International want to address. So quickly to run by what WeConnect International and what we in India do. WeConnect International is a global not-for-profit organization. Our mission is basically to help women entrepreneurs scale their businesses by giving them both local and global market access. This we do in a number of ways. The basic way is we connect them to corporations, major corporations which are the global Fortune 500 companies. We have globally more than 70 such corporations as our members. In India, we have about 20 active members. So what we do is we actually identify women-run businesses. By that I mean it should be owned, managed and operated by women who own at least 51% stake in the business. We certify them as such, that it's purely run and controlled and managed by women, one or more women, and then we connect them to corporations. Today we're lucky to have a few of our members here from RBS, from Marriott. I really invite all of you to go visit our website and see what WeConnect has to offer to all of you. One, as I said, we certify. There's a processing fee for that. We charge $500 for getting certified. Another way to be part of our network is to just be a self-registered member. This doesn't require for you to, make a fee to get certified. But if you feel that you're still early, you have either the capability or the confidence to become a supplier to the corporations, but you want to know more about it, I would really urge you to become a self-registered member. What it gives access to is, fellow women entrepreneurs, and to learn a lot about what it is, to become a supplier, what it has for you, what the global network has to offer to you. So, I welcome you all once again, and we'll call Priya back. Sorry, before I hand it back to Priya. I would like to invite a couple of our certified women businesses present in Mumbai. We all know that we do a lot of networking, and sometimes what we say and how we say are both very important. So this is actually an opportunity for our certified women businesses to make a 1-minute pitch about the business. We're going to be talking about the business in 1 minute. And we would request our panelists and speakers to give some constructive feedback for them to improve upon it. At first, I'd like to invite Sumitra. Z, are you coming?
Hello, I'm Sumitra Verma. Thank you so much. Basically I'm an entrepreneur since the beginning. Like last 14 years I've been an entrepreneur. I did my graduation. After that I did my CS and MBA in finance. And I did not go for a corporate career. In fact, I went for a couple of interviews and got selected somewhere. But somehow, even after getting the offer letter, I didn't feel that I wanted to go. So I decided to take the plunge, and fortunately for me, I had my family supporting me. So I started an organization, and we are into staffing, recruitment and IT services. So basically we started working with some corporates, and since 2004 we have been working with IBM, which is one of the biggest brands across the world. And today we are 32 people organization with offices mainly in Mumbai, Pune and NCR region. Other clients that we have are in Manhattan, Philippines. So IBM introduced me to WeConnect actually. So first time it was IBM that told me that it would be better if I get connected to WeConnect. And I have got registered I think in August.
1 minute.
Yeah, I have got registered in August, and I've just started knowing the team. So I think it will be a good experience moving ahead, and I encourage a lot of women to actually become entrepreneurs and think beyond just being one person company and go beyond that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sumitra.
Sunita, I didn't understand what do you do? What do you supply?
I do human resource.
Just one thing, what I have in my mind was we're talking about is with the current technology being around, a lot of people selection and also shortlisting process happening through the internet. Maybe think through in terms of how you can prepare yourself for the future so that people can contact you with the website. For example, I'm just simply saying, okay.com, whether like that, maybe you have some website that contact you and then maybe really make your footprint bigger or the pan-India program like that?
Actually, I think I'll connect with you later on. So
Sure.
1 minute was very less to speak.
Sure, sure. Okay.
Thank you so much. Now, invite you.
We make naturally nutritious foods in convenient forms for the global consumer. The first range of products that we have is Sprouts Shake, which is made from sprouted whole grains, millets, and legumes without any additives, preservatives, or artificial flavors. This came about because I wanted to give natural stuff. As a working woman, it was getting very difficult to give natural nutritious foods to my kids and family, and at the same time make it more delicious and appealing for them to have. So in the regular shelves, if you hardly see anything without preservatives and artificial flavors. That's how I decided to do it. And now, of course, with such huge networking organizations that I'm associated with, I'm very confident of tapping the global marketplace. Thank you.
You have 14 seconds if you want.
Okay, for the claps.
Feedback?
No, it's fine. I think we interacted. Married, we interacted already.
And then
I think,
we can
yeah, you
continue
can
for the first time.
Very significant story for the church here. Just to get an idea about what sort of condition, what sort of cuisine people started from some people's this is a good something which was actually really
Sorry, Priya, and you have 40 seconds to spare. I think that's really. Next up, Sharon G.
This is Chiranji from Ludhiana.
We are in the business of manufacturing travel goods, travel bags, luggage accessories, and it's essentially a B2B business. So we have an annual tie-up with Procter & Gamble. It's a preferred supplier. Most of the Indian travel agencies like Miramar, Patient Tours, they are buying from us for the last 13 years and we sold suppliers this year. B2B is doing very well for me, but then because some people telling you and egging you on that so many people buy our products and there's so much of appreciation for them, but nobody knows us. So work is on, launching a brand of my own in the next 1 month. So before Jan 20th, I'll be online on 10 products. Thank you.
You also have 10 seconds to go.
Thank you. On the press pitch, you want to give any strategy? Thank you.
It's a huge.
Try reading it.
I have to read up which you do. But I couldn't memorize so much, so I have to read up.
I'm very serious. Spend more time reading it. I genuinely mean it.
Okay, let me at least tell a few words from here. A blend of MBA in finance and bachelor's in computer engineering with 20 years of experience in banking and technology. Pankaj is part of the executive team at the Royal Bank of Scotland. Royal Bank of Scotland is a UK-based bank with 120,000 employees across 38 countries. And they are one of the corporate members of Ethernet International and keen on buying from Ethernet. So Pankaj, I hand over the mic to you.
Thank you. Just give me 1 second. I thought I'll
Okay, then I'll continue reading. Pankaj is also the managing director of RBS Business Services and is recognized as a leading and highly certified value organization under ISO 9000. He's executive sponsor for the Diversity Forum and the co-sponsor for the Focused Women Network for RBS in India. So you know who to catch. He is the chairperson on the board of RBS India Foundation, known for his contribution to the bank's sustainability agenda. Pankaj is on the board of WeConnect International, a corporate-led non-profit. He is also the chairperson for the Western Region chapter and founder of the National Leadership Team for NASCOM, GIC Forum. Okay, this is something interesting. Teaching is his passion and Pankaj is a visiting faculty at quite a few management institutes. He is on the board of studies for NMIS, School of Distance Learning, and ardent lover of tabla, Indian drums. His love for percussion instills and rhythm in his life.
I think you've spoken enough about it. So let me talk about what I want to talk about. So I'm just looking at time check. How much time do I have? 15 minutes? All 3 for 15 minutes? If you get bored, normally what I do when I teach in my classes is I ask them to raise their hands, right? And the deal is that when students raise hands and I shut up. It doesn't matter what point I am talking, and I'm definitely not talking to students here. So you can raise your hands and faster if you're getting bored. So first of all, thank you very much for having me here. I'm going to kind of reflect back on why I walked in almost 5 minutes late. Because I was on a call where somebody from my organization texted me saying, I need some approval for some payments. As you can imagine, I work for a bank, so payments approvals is very common. And that conversation lasted for about 2 minutes because the individual had to explain to me what the payment was, and I said, go ahead and make it. And then I spent almost the next 30 minutes, which wasn't scheduled for a conversation, because this lady who works for us did a brilliant job in the last 5 months to step into a much bigger role and delivered phenomenally well when some leaders in the organization thought that she couldn't. And as the year comes to an end, she was handing over. So she kind of just mentioned the statement saying, "Okay, I'm handing over charge back to the person." So there's somebody who is a brilliant leader, went on maternity leave. So everybody is like, "Oh, she's gone, what's going to happen?" Obviously, you can't say no to maternity leave. And so we said, let's give an opportunity to another woman leader in this organization, relatively junior. So again, there was skepticism around will she be able to step up, and she did a phenomenal job. And I think what I'm going to talk to you about is no different from that conversation, because the conversation almost went through me asking her as to would she like to continue doing this job, right, or something similar. And she obviously kind of started to reflect on her challenge around her family commitment. So her daughter's giving board examination, SSC board, and that means next 3 months, she needed time off. So she said, how can I step into a new job and say I want 3 months off, though she's been with the organization for almost 15 years. And then the conversation kind of moved ahead to say, and by the way, you know what, I know I did this job as an interim, but logically, if this job was announced, internally as one of the available jobs, maybe I wouldn't have applied for that job because this job is too great senior, and I'm not sure whether I can do the job. And then the conversation also went around the fact that I need to think about it because I need to go and talk to my husband if there's an opportunity in the organization. And I'm not stereotyping everybody in that journey. But that kind of made me think, and I obviously had a dialogue with her to say, look, I think, if this was a man having a conversation with me, I can almost bet my life that even if he met 50% of the requirement, he would be basically saying, why can't I get the job? And probably even more saying, look, I've done the job for 5 months, so why should I need to go back to a new job or an old job? Why can't I just get this one? And I genuinely mean it from a diversity point of view, right? So I think, at least in the environment or the cultures that we operate in, I think it's fair to say that we still are in that journey where I do see, at least in an Indian context, that women are more committed to family, and I'm a father, so I'm not saying I'm not, but that sense of accountability seems to be a bit much more there than a dialogue that at least I have experienced a man would have with me. And as I walked in, I thought that's what I'm going to share with you, because what I will leave with you are two things. One is, as an organization, as RPS, we've actually put in what is called as a supplier code, right? And the supplier code around diversity is about how do we work with our suppliers, respecting diversity without doing any positive discrimination. Yeah. So if I kind of page down a bit on this one, because I'm not going to take you through all of those pages, right? I want to kind of specifically talk about this is what we need to focus on, which is the left-hand side. But I think I want to leave thoughts with you in terms of how do you and your organization would meet if our guidelines around the code was around these 4 principles, right? So the first one is a very easy principle. It's a principle of inclusion. And there is a very strong view or a directive towards, as we have our supplier community, are we ensuring a good balance without positive discrimination? So not a target saying, oh, we should have 30% women entrepreneurs, so let's just give anybody, doesn't matter what quality of goods they give, opportunity. So no organization will do that. And I don't think you would like to be in that, bracket, because, we buy products from you or you are a supplier because you have value, you have quality, right? Not because, we are just doing a tick in the box for diversity. So I think inclusion is a relatively easier understood conversation. I think the 3 things that may be something for you to reflect on are, and I don't know if this is clear enough. I want to just, maybe it's not. Are the 3 pieces, right? So the second one on the list here is development, right? And I think development works both ways. So how do we as an organization, and I can almost say that what I'm talking about as Royal Bank of Scotland cannot be much different from any other big conglomerate supporting this kind of initiative. So I can almost say that any responsible organization anywhere in the world will be able to relate to these, right? So how do we develop both as an organization and as a supplier community? Our capability is something that we need to reflect on. And I think there the real question is around, are you looking at all the opportunities? Are we positioning ourselves well in the market? What is it that makes someone come to you to buy your product as compared to somebody else? And the answer just cannot be because we are women or because we are entrepreneurs, right? The answer has to be far beyond that, right? And that is the conversation that all of us need to have looking into a mirror. And genuinely, if you were a buyer of a product, would you still buy the product? And maybe when you pitch across to us as an organization, that is the pitch you need to make, which is if you are standing in front of a mirror and selling your services, why would we buy? And if you are convinced, then you can convince anybody. And if you are not convinced, then no matter whatever you do, it's very difficult to convince somebody else. The third piece is around compliance, and this is where I think organizational expectations are quite, I'm thinking about the right word, and maybe I'll still use the wrong word, which is enduring. Because as a global organization, you need to meet certain standards for obvious reasons, right? We need to be ensuring that the organization is fit for purpose, the funds of those organizations come from appropriate sources and not coming from somewhere else, or has wrong connects or origins. The directors of the organizations are respected and responsible individuals and so on. So there's a huge ask that goes behind. And depending on your aspirations, you need to start thinking about your organization not as today, but as 5 years from now, and maybe even 10 years, as to how will you gear to these kind of requirements and your aspiration around how you want to grow the organization. I mean, Sunita knows this. I met some of the women entrepreneurs in Bangalore, right? And one of the person actually comes from a resourcing background, right? In fact, 2 of them. So one said, look, here's my setup. I don't do big ones, a big resource recruitment, but I've consistently delivered. And I thought that was a good conversation. We're already having a conversation with that organization to see how we can help. There was somebody else in the room, much more experienced individual, actually was head of recruitment for one of the big organizations. So you would tend to think that this person really knows the market, which he did. Can't take that away. but said we are a three-member team, and the way we operate is everybody operates from their homes, and depending on the requirement, then we kind of get on the phone and talk to each other, and we see how we can use our contacts. That's not an easy connect for an organization of 17,000 people that I run, where I would say I'll sign a contract with you for 3,000 people that I hire every year, right? Because if one of them decides not to do because of whatever personal reasons, I'm exposing my organization, right? And that's going to be a very difficult conversation for me to sell within the organization as well. So I think you need to think about how do you meet the compliance and sustainability requirements that you want from a relationship point of view for that organization. And that almost brings me to the fourth piece, which is around continuous improvement. And there you need to start reflecting on how do you scale up and stay sustainable, because I have had experiences not just about women entrepreneurs and suppliers, but generally, with supplier community where you suddenly scale up high, cannot sustain, and then everything starts to collapse. So I think you need to start to think about the balance between how can we ensure that your organization stays sustainable long term and be able to scale up as the journey goes. And this is not a hobby that you are doing. I was coming this morning on a flight and I had Rishi Kapoor sitting next to me. So obviously, for all of you who come from that world will know the Bollywood world. And I thought I'll leave you with four things as a thought before I kind of sign off, right? And I'll relate to the Bollywood example. If you look at Shah Rukh Khan, then I don't know, I'm sure all of you have very strong views about who you like and who you don't like in the Bollywood world. If you look at Shah Rukh Khan, he started with the movies like Gar, he started with movies like, the other one which I don't get the name on, Bazigar. All were villain roles, right? The big guys then refused to do those roles, and he stood up and he picked up the role. I mean, rest is history as we look at Shah Rukh Khan's journey, and probably one of the most earning members. If you look at the Bollywood connect, right, between Karan Johar, his father, the Bachchan families, the Roshan families, I think it definitely tells you one thing, right, that the network in this organization really matters, and network in this world really matters. So how good are you at networking and connecting your connects is very important. I think the third thing that the Bollywood industry brilliantly teaches us is don't shy away or get bogged down by failures. And I think no bigger example than Amitabh Bachchan comes to your mind, right? So the peak he had, the almost difficult times he went through, his return back from the whole TV industry, if you look at in terms of Kaun Banega Crorepati, who thought the old big B will never come onto a TV serial in that sense, and his humbleness to stay connected both channels and actually to do a comeback, right? So I was kind of thinking about how you do that real comeback. And I think finally the fourth one for me is how you position yourselves. And I was reflecting on the two colleagues or two entrepreneurs that spoke just before talking about their business. I think there's a big gap between, and I'm not taking a broad brush statement, I'm sure some of you will brilliantly well, but broadly speaking, there is a gap between the way you present your capability and how capable you are. And the easiest way for me to describe that is think about a magician. And you can think about a magician as big as the Sarkar, PC Sarkars of the world or his son, or think about the magician who does the same magic show or similar magic shows outside India, Gateway of India, or in any village. And I think the two things that magicians do, which we all should learn from, is one is competence, because they do those tricks with a lot of competence, and confidence. And you cannot have things only with confidence, and you cannot win things only with competence. And sometimes when I listen to, especially my experience with WeConnect and the fantastic opportunity I've had with, kind of talking to entrepreneurs of WeConnect, is frankly one I have learned more. So I don't know how much I've been able to help them, but I've definitely learned more. But I think the gap that I keep seeing on a broad scale is when they pitch their story, the gap between confidence and competence. I think they are very competent. The strength you bring is real passion, and passion can absolutely do wonders. I think what you need is the confidence of a magician. And you will notice that sometimes magicians also make mistakes, but they quickly manage over and get the next trick that wows the audience. And how do you kind of watch for that expertise and keep building that expertise? So I'm hoping that you already create a magic in your world. The question is, how do we see you as those magicians, and how can you work towards that? Thank you very much. Thanks for having me over. I don't know if you expected me to say anything different, but I thought I'll talk about how an organization looks at supplier relationships, not just particular to entrepreneurs or women, but generally speaking, how your organization also recognize the diversity commitment, and we are absolutely committed to diversity. And then you need to think about how can you create the magic as a brilliant magician. And I think that combination is where you'll be able to show your business. So thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me as well.
Thanks, Pankaj. Now, for the next very interesting panel discussion session.
Any questions if they want to ask?
Okay, for Pankaj. You all have any questions for Pankaj? Anybody here? Yes.
Hi, that was brilliant. It was absolutely inspiring. My one question to you would be, when you're in a position to be hiring a man or a woman for a particular role, is there a difference in the way they work in terms of qualities that you find? Like maybe a woman you said is more loyal to the family. So do you see women being more loyal in an organization? Just a question as an entrepreneur when I'm doing my hiring strategy. Sorry.
No, I think it's a very good question, right? And I think different organizations would have different experiences. I think women in general are more reflecting than men on a broadly basis, right? My organization is almost 50-50, so we have got 45 women, 47 actually women leaders of women, and we've got 53 of men. So I think the balance is pretty good. But I think, and I'll bring another dimension so that I don't sound very biased or overly biased, right? Which is, I also look after inclusion, which means, for example, I look at differently abled as one of the options, right? And I think there's a huge journey that we as an organization in this country needs to do. So, my business manager, for example, is a lady, and she's completely blind. Right? And I know how I used to work with her. When she used to walk to my office, the office that I operate in Parel is an old textile mill converted. They are huge lead pillars. If you walk into that lead pillar at the pace that we walk, you will be dead if it hits your head. I mean, it's really like somebody coming and hitting you with a hammer rod, iron rod. And every time when she joined the organization and she would walk towards my office, I could see her walking. I would almost stand up to think about, should I go and kind of help her in. And at one stage she said, you know what, the best thing you can do for me, Pankaj, is don't make me feel I'm different. And when I need help, I'll come to you and tell you. So for example, any organization, at least we were in that journey earlier, where we would send out messages, my monthly messages, my announcements in pictorial form with all this nice kind of PDF stuff. And she called me and she said, you know what, all these tools that are available in the market cannot translate pictures to what you have written there. So I can't read any of your communication. So now I write emails, right, or Word documents, or basically type words that the translator can convert. So the reason I'm sharing all of this is because I don't think the commitment is different. I think the reflection on how they kind of approach a situation is different. I will definitely say that in an Indian environment, I see more, family-linked conversations with women than I see with men. And we see that as a journey. I think the other thing that I would say, again, sounds a bit broad brush, is if I apply for a job, right, or if I post for a job, and if I look at the applicants, right, most, generally speaking, men will apply if they are 80% meet the requirement and 20% they don't. And I think women will almost wait for that 100% correctness. And if they are not, then they will not apply. And that I've experienced. So I've walked across to a few women leaders and said, hang on, so you've done this before. Why are you not applying for the job? And then they'll read somewhere one line saying, and you should have done 2 years of X something, right? So the whole page would have everything else that the individual will almost score a 5 on a 5 or a 4 on a 5. But there will be one bullet point which will say you have not done this, and they'll say therefore I didn't apply, right? And you have to just sometimes say, hang on, just apply. Because the job that you are going to do has nothing to do with this. It's just one of the many requirements, right? I think that is the gap. So the gap of, again, back to that confidence to make that leap sometimes needs that bit of a tap on the shoulder to say, go for it. And then the support from the organization. Performance-wise, I think everybody puts their best foot forward. They're good at that.
Actually, read an article where he said that exactly what you say, that women in corporates, they tend to get paid less because they can sell themselves.
So we pay by the job, right? So there I would have a slightly different view, which is to say that I don't differentiate a pay of a woman to a man, right? So if I hire somebody as head of my retail business, whether it's a man or a woman, he or she will get paid exactly what the job is. And I think I can speak for almost all the organizations or responsible organizations. I do not think anybody will pay excess to a woman or less to a woman. They'll be paid by the rate. I think that the other way to read that statement is, if you post a job, how many men will apply who meet the criteria versus women? And I think women will be a little bit more shy, especially if the job is bigger. Almost the conversation I had with my colleague to say, am I ready? Should I think more, etc. And that I think is something. But pay-wise, I wouldn't think organizations pay. That's my genuine view. I mean, I don't know if you have it. Sure.
I'm very interested to know about this, on this slide, about the development and continuous improvement. And this I am not looking from the employee or employer basis. I'm looking more towards the supplier or the human entrepreneur who is supplying their services. My corporate doesn't directly supply anything to banking industry. I come from the pharmaceutical domain. But in pharmaceutical domain, we have 4,500 companies who are actually hand-holding us and telling us that we have something called GMP practices, good manufacturing practices. So they are actually hand-holding us and telling, hey guys, if you want to supply us, we are willing to be with you for 6 months. Get these things in order. Now, I think many of us would like to hear, because we are more of entrepreneurs here than employee or employers. So more employers, I think so. So I would like to hear how RBS is engaging on development or continuous improvement. I think that would be more interesting to hear.
So it's a journey, and very similar to the example you gave in pharmaceuticals is what we are doing. And we have kind of extended that almost to not just suppliers, but even in our CSR space, right? So for example, we support a blind school in Chennai. And I'm taking a complete tangent example to give you how the thinking of the organization goes. And we are using our, and a bank, business resilience or business continuity is very important, right? There is a shutdown or in a city, how do you recover operations in another city, or there's a, God forbid, fire in a building, how do you ensure that customers don't get impacted and operations stay go? So there's a huge infrastructure that goes beyond ensuring that the bank is always available for customers. We have now picked up that business resilience team to start helping these blind school kids on evacuation, because you can imagine that most of the blind, and this is blind and deaf, so they will not be able to see lights. Those who are hearing impaired cannot hear the sirens, so they need beds that have to vibrate, otherwise they will not know something has gone wrong. A blind will have to queue in a particular direction because they can't read fire exit signs. We have approached almost similar principle around our quality and continuous improvement team to work with our suppliers and our partners in general, right? So for example, we have started to build and train them on lead journeys, right? Continuous improvement journeys. We have helped train people on Six Sigma. Yeah, and what does that really mean on a day-to-day basis rather than some theoretical experiences? So partnership is always welcome. I think the key one from your end is your commitment towards wanting to be a partner. Because sometimes what happens is we see this initial enthusiasm, then we have a few sessions and then it kind of dies down. So I think that is the key to hold. But if you can hold to that, and that's an open offer. I mean, whether you're a supplier or not, just as women entrepreneurs, just as our connect into We Connect, I am very happy if any one of you feel that our continuous improvement teams can come and spend some time with you or your organization just to talk about, how do you drive improvement or build capability. Puna or any of my colleagues will be delighted to help, independent of whether we have a commercial relationship with your organization. Because I think that's just the way to build the world, right?
I think Indian corporates and Indian government has still not really strong laws about advisory laws like we have abroad. So what do you think is needed to make these laws more dominant?
It's getting recorded on the video, right? But I'll still say because I think I'll say what it is. I mean, laws are always framework to help support and sustain whether it's country's economy or support individuals, right? I think to make a mandatory rule to say you will do X percentage almost makes me personally feel that there is a risk of compromise. Not always, but there is a risk of compromise. And so I think so let's take CSR for example, right? I think government has done a brilliant step in saying this is what we encourage you to do. By the way, we're not going to penalize you, but you put it in your annual report and say you can't meet the CSR target. And as an organization, as a responsible organization, would I like to put myself there? No. So it has created a genuine influence to say, I better start to think about how am I going to do my CSR spend. Because I don't want to write at the end of the annual report that I was so busy I didn't do community sustainability. Right? So I think those kind of constructs help. So I see that happening. Will it be well received to say, you will give it to X number of percent? It's almost like saying, will there be a government rule to say X, women reservations? And I know there's been always a controversy, some in support and some against. I don't know how some of that can work in the supplier industry. I don't have that sense. But I would rather say more responsible organizations with responsible people will make it work better than purely a law that makes someone do something. Because that's sustainable, right?
I can just add one more thing to your talk, sir. I totally agree that there is no need of reservation. Everything was equal with men entrepreneurs. We women are able to do it. The only thing I think we require a little bit of help is because being an entrepreneur by itself is difficult. I'm putting myself here. But having to worry about making morning coffees and evening curds becomes even more difficult. So I think there is a helping hand which is required. I don't think there is a requirement for any reservations or any law to be coming in. And believe me, if you go through that MSME websites, it is a big stress buster for me. Wherever my law things go hanging up and I think there is no route out, I just sit on that MSME website. It's a 800-page website. One, it takes off your tension, and second, it gives you another work that you can work out your way. So, from my end, if that is something can help you, I think it's very important for you to find out how we can get help from the corporates rather than asking for any reservations.
And I think that extent I would agree that I think entrepreneurs need, and we have always had. So if you think about the old world of small scale industry support, right? Government giving land, giving loans. So I think spirit of supporting entrepreneurial behavior or nature of business has always been there. Can we do more? Can we be more real world and modern world rather than traditional old subsidies? That's always a journey. But I get your point that I think it's more about entrepreneurial support. Any entrepreneur needs. Even if I become an entrepreneur, I will.
He's running out of time. He has to leave.
So sorry for that. I have to be back at 4, which I'm obviously not going to be. But I said I didn't want to miss an opportunity to be here. So I'm happy to share my coordinates. If any of you would like to reach out to me through Sunita, most happy to support. If there are any advices, suggestions, things that you think as an organization we can do better, I'm absolutely, I would absolutely look forward to and welcome those. Sorry that I need to leave the session, but I'm very, very committed to have a follow-up conversation if anyone will feel that I can be of any help. So thank you again, and really a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pankaj. You have exposed a very human side to the control corporate world, and you realize how approachable these corporates are. I would now like to...
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
I already took it. Bankers don't leave their things behind.
So, moving on to the panel discussion where we know more from the corporates. I would like to invite Sri Lakshmi Desiraju. She is a certified WeConnect member. She owns Triphase Pharmaceuticals. An entrepreneur who can convert adversities to opportunities. She is a live example. You should connect with her and understand more of how she has been able to utilize this network to a better use. Sri Lakshmi.
Thank you very much, Priya. And those were maybe too many words spoken about me. I don't think I stand there yet. Triphase has been a small organization which has been functional since 2009, and we started as like 4 people company, 40 people company, but we are in pharmaceutical domain. Pharmaceutical domain is a little bit capital extensive, intensive domain, and so yes, we have now 2 products here in the market, 3 verticals that we have developed into probiotics. That is the new buzzword in the health and supplement industry lately. And these probiotics, to give just one-liner, they are the good bugs, good bacteria that help you to get your digestive system up and running, and thereby changing your moods to having a very productive life and happiness. So we are basically now out of Bangalore, Mysore. Bangalore is more of corporate headquarters, and Mysore is the factory that we have in. A probiotic manufacturing company which are doing 3 verticals. One into animal nutrition, where these probiotics are used, and I'll tell you later once we finish the panel discussion why it is important. Second into the human nutrition, where these are actually, there are products in the market, 2 products in the market which are through doctor's prescription. And these are specifically for reducing diarrhea in babies, as well as there is another product for the gynae segment. Third product which we launch in next year, is into the gastric segment. And apart from this, we do a lot of B2B, and that is where actually my main focus would be, because for B2B export, I can't thank WeConnect enough. No words are enough for me to thank WeConnect for the help they did. Not that they brought business on my doorstep, but yes, that contacts, the network that I would access, I don't think I would have done it without them. That is one part, and it came at the right time. When the business was not settling down and we went through the debt route, so obviously there was a lot of pressure on the company. And at that time this business came through. So I owe a lot to WeConnect, Sunita and Sucharita, who is not here. But nevertheless, it's not about me and my Triphase. There's a lot to talk about, and I think I would like to invite here for the panel. Now, the panel discussion today, what we want to do is, what does it take to get into corporates? We are not talking, we as much as we appreciate entrepreneurs who are in their young stages, we are trying to focus for the entrepreneurs who are looking for scaling up. Women entrepreneurs are always looked upon either small scale industry or CSR, and that's not the case. Actually, there have been entrepreneurs, or there have been people like in my domain, of course, Dr. Masudha Shaw, who runs Biocon, is one big example. So if she could, being a brewer, end up making a pharmaceutical company which is a $1 billion company, and to create a name, I don't see any reason beyond one goal. And that is the motivation to go ahead and see what does it take to be a strategic partner or to be a supplier to the big corporates. So can we take that lead? Whatever we do, it's not about doing only small things. I mean, women entrepreneurs are now into every sector. As much as jewelry was appreciated for women entrepreneurs, we are taking the techno giants also. So what does it take to be a supplier to the corporates? And what does it take to think big? I think this is what we would like to focus on in today's panel. And for the panel, I would like to invite the corporate members of the panel. First, I would like to invite Mr. Bharti Taral Ramaswamy, who is the global procurement for Marriott Hotels. India. Oh, sorry. My bad. For India. Marriott Hotels, where we are sitting today and enjoying this whole hospitality as well as this whole function. And I'll give a brief point, but let me invite everybody. I would like to invite Mr. Pooran Jha. And I would like to invite Mr. Nitin Shankar Nagaraj. Please. Before we go forward, why we have taken these three people is we would like to know more about what does it take in the hospitality industry as well as in the banking industry to be a strategic partner. That was one of the part. And second part is even globally, whether whichever business it might be, whichever industry it might be, what does it take to be there, or what are the requirements, basic requirements, or what are the things that we need to incorporate in our organizations or as an entrepreneur to be there, to be able to make connect with these organizations and be at par with these organizations. In fact, I would be very happy to have us telling that we have these kind of policies, not just the ISO 9000 policies. We have these kind of policies that we follow, and I think just we heard Mr. Pankaj, and he would be very happy to say that, oh, I don't need to be with you on continuous development. It would be better that we just become our partners. So here I go with a short profile that I would like to share. Mr. Bharti Taral Ramaswamy is a BCom graduate from Sri Venkateswara University in Tirupati and has done his diploma in sales and marketing from National Institute of Sales, Delhi. He has been in supply chain and material management. He has been a material management and supply chain professional with 22 plus years of rich experience in the diverse industry. I think that is something that we all will be able to connect. It's not about hotels only. He has been associated with a couple of things such as automobiles, medical equipment, shipping, chemicals, packaging material, food products, non-food products. So variety of industries that he has worked into will always help us to relate to our industry. I mean, I sitting here, I might think, oh, what am I going to talk to him because he's from the hotel industry. No, not at all. He has such a diverse experience that we could always relate to our industry and take help from him or ask him questions as many as we can. Worked with companies like Hero Honda Motors, Blue Star Limited, American President Lines, Monsanto, has been Sogleso's on-site service solution for 19 years. He has been working for past 3 years with Marriott Hotels India as Director of Procurement. We welcome you, sir. A small introduction that Mr. Jha has shared with us, but I am pretty sure that it is much more than that and a much more diverse experience that we will be tapping into. He is the Vice President Supply Chain Services for the Royal Bank of Scotland Group in India. That says enough, because that is where the money is. An MBA in Finance and Marketing, but has a post-graduation in Science and Physics. And I was just asking him before we started this discussion as to what was the shift from physics to MBA to banking. I mean, it's a very wide variety from one end to another. Has 16 plus years of experience in strategic procurement and marketing. I am pretty sure with all these informations we can always relate to our industry as to how we can do it. If nothing else, we will know how to take finance from Royal Bank of Scotland. We welcome you, sir. I may call you Nitin. Nitin has a wonderful experience that he can share with us. And I'm pretty sure he's going to take this panel discussion into more interesting heights. Nitin is working with Quality New Zealand Imports as General Manager Supply Chain. Here brings in the global experience that we are looking for. It's not just about what happens in the Indian giants or India corporate giants. We also can look into the other part of it. A unique business model owned by some world-class cricketers of New Zealand. Nitin has been a part of this group as General Manager. He brings with him a rich experience of 20 plus years, during which he has been actively involved in managing procurement and supply chain for key hotels like Taj Mahal Palace, Towers, Taj, Lands End, that is the region, Grand Hyatt Mumbai, the West End, and the Sofitel Mumbai BKC as Director of Procurement. I think Nitin, when he has graduated from Mumbai University with Bachelor degree of Commerce and has obtained Diploma in Materials Management for IIMM Bangalore and Diploma in Hotel Management in Catering Technology and Applied Nutrition from IHM Mumbai. He has also completed Masters in Marketing Management from Jawaharlal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies in Mumbai. More than that, I think one thing which really caught my attention was he has founded a forum in 2010 for hospitality procurement professionals named Hospitality Purchasing Managers Forum. I think this itself will give you a lot of indication that the gentleman is widely connected. Apart from this LinkedIn professional group called Materials Management, which has 45,000 professionals linked to him, I think you know where to reach if anything goes wrong or if you need any connection in this industry. You're welcome, sir. I think two rules. One, we will take the questions at the end of the discussion so that we will have our panelists share their view before we can go ahead and please jot down all your questions and we will have a question answer session at least. Apart from doing the networking at IT, so you will have many more opportunities to ask personal one-to-one questions. Second request is that let us keep this panel discussion more open rather than having my and yours kind of thing, because that you can take with individuals at IT. They are not going anywhere before they answer the questions. So I think from there on, let me start with you, Nitin, as to if you can give a brief introduction about your foundation. I think that is a very interesting thing that people would like to hear. And similarly, we would like to request Mr. Jha and Mr. Ramaswamy to give a more brief about their organization and the role that they are doing. And then we will take questions further on.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Most of the times when I do presentations in front of the audience, there are about 3 or 4 ladies, most of them gentlemen. I'm happy that no lady than 4 gentlemen sitting in front. So, good evening, and my name is Nitin Shankar Nagrave. I'm the founder and general secretary of a forum called HPMF, which is Hospitality Purchasing Manager Forum, which has 670 members from India, and they represent about 480 organizations. So they are mostly from the 5-star hotels, standalone restaurants, catering companies, from airlines like Go Airways, SpiceJet, Jet Airways. So the heads of procurement are the members of this forum. Objective is to develop them, network, talk to each other, understand the latest developments, and ensure that everybody gets benefited. So the day before yesterday, in fact, we had the annual celebration where Priya came in. Mr. Bharanidharan was also there, and it became a very, very big hit, wherein we invited few, but a lot came in, and then it became a talk of the town today. So thank you very much for being here. From here on, we will talk about what HPMF does and how can it help you to introduce you to us. We'll take it forward.
immense love and respect that he gets in this forum was depicted through the standing ovation that he got at the anniversary event from all the members.
Good evening all, my name is Purna Chandracha and I am one of the key procurement lead from Royal Bank of Scotland. So Royal Bank of Scotland Group, most of you must be aware of, is UK-based BC Bank, which has a presence in India as well. In India, it's more to do with the investment bank. They have a very large bank of investment bank. So roughly around 17,000 people are there. And if you know the number of suppliers that we deal with in the portfolio at this point of time, it's around 20,000 suppliers. So I'll come to the latest stage how we do the suppliers. I will not use those suppliers as a partnership. So when we create a partnership, what goes through those chain, because at the end of the day, we are actually serving the last customer for which we are here. And there are customers from your company also, for which you are serving your business. And the customer, how does it reflect on your customer? How does it actually make an impact on your procurement that we do? I hope you all are buying those and these smaller buyers. Teams are going to say. So we'll take up those questions and I will actually be happy for you to put as many questions as possible for me to address you. So just like discussions.
I'm unable to see everyone, so I will take a stand up. Okay. I am very glad to see you all here. I think Reconnect is a good platform to connect the corporates and the entrepreneurs to create business. Because I work for Marriott as it's 20 years. Marriott globally has a lot of work with a lot of Swiss initiatives. And of course, Reconnect is something that is very strong. Marriott is associated with. And in India, I think it's been quite cool. In the last 2 years, we are closely working with Reconnect. We don't say that we have done great progress, but I think we are starting to. And then we have a lot of very clear plans in mind for next to progress what we do. And also, Marriott has about 24 hotels as of today. Next, maybe a week's time, there are 2 more hotels that we are adding up. So, about 2 years before or 3 years before Marriott had about 10 hotels. Okay, so the opportunity of procurement is really, there's a huge opportunity for women entrepreneurs, also for Marriott to do right things and also see kind of possibility how we have a kind of right diverse spend. So Marriott tracks the diversity spend very clearly on year. So we hope that may be of the future to go to our company. So we'll talk more about that.
Thank you very much. We can start with the basic question which I think everybody would want to hear as entrepreneurs. What does it take to become, what are from each industry and each organization there will be some do's and do nots to become a supplier. So at Marriott, I'll start with you again. At Marriott, what is it that you are basically looking for a person, for an organization to become a supplier? Once that process, then we can get into more of detail in each industry.
Okay, before you start, are you able to hear at the end, in the last
Okay. Actually, it's a very open-ended question, but I say that for any organization, not specifically Marriott, the basic things are right quality, right price, right delivery service. Surely, nowadays it's kind of being a kind of food products or food safety, certifications, other things are very important. But if you look at category by category, it depends on the criteria, selection criteria, and those things are there. We'll talk more in detail in the coming, 2 more minutes when we discuss. Basically, I think, like consistent quality, consistent service, and right market, like whatever the competitive price. When I say competitive price, it's not about the cheap price or a costly price. I'm talking about a kind of value, whatever the value company is paying, they're getting a value for money. So that's something is what I talk as the basic 3 things.
Can I extend the same question to you, Mr.
I would put a different perspective, in fact, aligning with what we are saying. Let's forget about the term supplier or anything. Let's think about their creative potential. Now, I hope all of us, as an approach will be something in mind, how my partnership with my personal life will talk about it. So, what is that you look for in those relationships? One of it is not a rocket science. Is that the same theme that we follow in terms of if I'm choosing my partner of my life, for example, what is that I'm choosing, right? What are the key criteria of something? You require sustainability, you require which is lasting, you require mutual trust, you require to be delivered, you expect them to support you at your range, right? Now all of them, if you take sales by service, and let's take an example. For example, I have my daughter, which always needs to kind of go for me. There is a pre-qualification criteria that we do now. This is the qualification of group. We'll be coming from that background, etc. So that is a pre-qualification check that we put for the partner in that way. Now let's say you evaluate out of a 10 or 3 or 4. Then start engaging with them. What is your future plans? What do you want to do in the future? That is the whole story for the partner. As an entrepreneur, you said it was a very good guy. I definitely ask you to share me about the essentially. Then you come back and say, what is the parents doing, right? What are your uncles doing, right? What are your other relationships? What are your friends doing? What are your hobbies and all stuff, right? It runs in the same procurement of stuff. We ask about, tell me something more about you, right? What are your sister concerns? What is your family doing? Who is going to take over your business after you, for example, right? Do you have a partnership company, right? How does both of you tally to take this partnership to the next level? So those are the 3 requirements, screenings, you can put that way, to the risk and level. So all these functions comes as a whether we have a right platform for this partnership and we are absolutely sure that we are engaging with the right partner. Then obviously comes, let's say there is some sector. For example, if you find there is no issue with the profile of a particular guy, or fine, it's one of my uncles who is caught in some sort of scams. He has some pictures and representatives. To put a negative story, right? Nothing wrong with it. But there is a background that actually proves that particular some sort of indication in mind that possibly there may be something wrong which he may be influenced with. So that goes as a question, can we look more into those details? Exactly the same procurement, I'll ask you, have you ever been part of any bridge in your business? Or have you gone something wrong in your business or for example, let's say sales tax notice or sales tax notice is not paid for. Or even maybe a dispute with the landlord. So those are the basic checks that you do. Then you come across and say, okay, fine. Now you're fine with everything. Then you come back, how many siblings you have, brothers, sisters, and all that. So you find, okay, fine, he's not coming from a very large family, which is financial background. Nothing wrong with the child again, right? He's a good child, he's qualified, good potential. We obviously find that maybe the financial pressure for my daughter or for my sister to be married in their family, right? So that is a financial stability that I find right now. So all along we are doing those evaluations directly or indirectly in the relationship. So that's the same way we do in RBS. This translates into some sort of RBS governance policies. When you take them to the right checks, you choose the right partner. And then it's a product, it's a business business. So the same logic that we follow, it translates into company policy because we are guided by the regulator, and there is a regulatory requirements on those and so on and so on. So my idea is that out of the mind, we forget about that they are going to supply something for RBS. My tip is that you think what is the value that you bring to RBS? Because I know that I'm having that good customer. Yourself is a customer to the bank. The moment you buy from RBS or let's say any other bank for that matter, what is that you expect out of a bank? A seamless transaction, a risk-free environment, your money should be top-class banking, you should be associated with the bank, you should have a good banking experience, the staff should be courteous enough, the guard at the door should be courteous enough, should be helping hygiene in terms of the environment. So it's a simple stuff, right? So the more we engage, the more we have a dialogue in terms of what I can get from you as a value. I think it's a very easy journey for all of us to bridge those gaps and get to the partnership. So I think I will open up for, I'm looking for more questions from you guys about how we can help me bring closer to our peers so that we can create those populations for the market. So that's my view.
I think you should take a deep breath. That was a big answer. I was waiting for you to stop so that I can talk. I forgot what I was supposed to say. What I'm going to tell you all, the pretty lady, is you need to have something different. You know, everybody is going to supply something or the other. There are people who हम कहते हैं 130 करोड़ है इंडिया में, 130 करोड़ में 30 करोड़ को सप्लाई करते ही होंगे. So think about it. Are you going to be same or similar to somebody who's supplying maybe groceries or maybe kapra? Are you going to be same? Maybe that could be a good any business. But what value addition are you going to add to it? Is this going to be a USP? Is it going to be different than somebody else? I have got two friends sitting in the audience. One is Priya, other one is Smriti. These two girls are supplying two different products which are not supplied by anybody else. And obviously it immediately gives you first-hand entry. You are in straight away. Now, as this two people talk about consistency, quality, all of that is definitely needed. Whether you are a woman or a man, if you don't supply quality product consistently, and if the price is not in the range of the buyer's expectation, you are definitely out. So USP has to be there. You need to be different, definitely than anybody else. And you are a woman, you automatically will be getting a person for sure. In fact, me being a man, I'm making that statement. In fact, we had a pre-con call statement, a pre-con call discussion where I said that most of the buyers, like 670, just 4 are women. So there are 654 buyers who are men and 4 are women. So, and then automatically, whether you talk about a gender bias or no, but then we call women as deity in India, and we automatically give first preference to women. So be good, do your best, and you will be good.
Thank you so much, Nitin.
What I understood from these three different views is that as much as Marriott is, and these are common, and then as much as they are looking for quality and time and consistencies and a real business sense, the banking industry is looking more of relationship and trust, and that is absolutely necessary because money is involved. So they are not looking, as much as we can talk about it, service industry has to provide all these things, but banking industry, I think they are looking more of trust. And to add to it, Nitin's comment that in hospitality, they are always looking for USP. So any of these three things, if we can cater in our enterprise, I'm pretty sure we would be, and in fact all of them, if we can, we should be catering to, but if we can cater all of them, then definitely there is no reason why we should not be successful. The second question which I would like to bring to your for this discussion on this panel is it a myth or is it true that it is very difficult to get into Fortune 500 supplier diversity? Now, as much as we can talk about, give me this, give me that, give me that, and give me this, and still, I think half of my audience would agree to me, because Manoli Protect Galaxy because they are that we are not able to do what we are doing, or what we are not able to reach them. So what is it that after an organization, corporate becomes a Fortune 500, obviously that's a brand. So I think one point which I would like to hear from all of you is how, for you, that is the biggest thing in your question which has to be looked into, that your brand should not get offended, or your brand should not get compromised. So is it a myth or is it really possible that getting into Fortune 500 companies for women entrepreneurs is difficult?
So I'll take this one. I don't think it's difficult because if you see most of my HR space, my people recruitment, most of the facilities management of the small scale level, for example, some of the tourist part, the stationaries, gift items and all this stuff, which goes there. I don't think there is something which is a mandate that is very tough to work with any companies. It's something which how much you can come closer to the aspirations of the company, understand the requirements, and how much you can develop. And always talk about continuous improvement. Right? So it's a journey where you have to start in the first stage itself, go through that particular process, For example, in RBS, if you go to rbs.com, there is a link which provides you easy access. So you want to be supplied to RBS anywhere in this world. You get a facility to register yourself. There are a few questionnaires in terms of your capability, in terms of your compliances, in terms of your work hour, your staff, and all those stuff, and what it takes in order to want to supply as a US market or a Asian market. So you can put your desire there and you can submit it. And after that, it comes back to the restricted global team for database check and evaluation back to the region where the supplier wants to go. And that's where we pick up our decisions. Right, so I don't think there is any something really obstacle from RBS point of view where I would restrict any one product matter only if they want to make a first attempt. For example, any startup company in India or PSO finds that yes, I can serve RBS in the long term, but let me actually get through the process first. Because unless until you go through the process, you won't necessarily know what it takes to be an RBS. It's a learning journey after that you start building those gaps, building your own appetite, and try to say this is the right market where I'm going to work. And we keep on doing that. So my database would be holding so many suppliers for doing the work with RBS. So just a matter of time where both parties are able to take charge of each other's expectations and we go to the application.
Thank you so much.
I stand up so that I can see you. It's not that you can see me. I think in Marriott, I would like to say that I don't say it's difficult because if you look at it today, whatever we work, more than 95% of our suppliers are from here. And for women enterprises also there is a big opportunity. For example, Marriott is opening a hotel in Kochi or in Bilaspur or in Mumbai. What happens surely when there is a new hotel is coming up, there are so many, I'm sure Vijay comes from, he has more than 20 years experience in the hotel industry. There are so many items, which we buy from hotels. So there is a new hotel, let's say it's coming up in a place which is in Bilaspur or in Kochi or in Bombay. There is a tremendous opportunity. It's just about somebody has to go along the road of the purchase department and showcase what are your capabilities as said very clearly that how well you can really get along the organization, what is your vision for next 5 years, 10 years, also what is your specialization, as Nitin said that what is your USP, what is the actually USP you have, is it that you are giving, let's say you are supplying rice, simple as it, you are supplying rice, okay, or you are supplying pulses, you are supplying vegetable, or you are supplying milk, or you are supplying painting, or you are supplying flowers. So what is it actually you are bringing, what kind of USP are you? Okay? Are you really going to give some special services which is going to be helping the Marriott to further give a different experience to the guest? Is it going to Marriott believes globally on primary priority is the guest satisfaction scores. Okay? If every guest who walks into Marriott measures their satisfaction scores. Okay? Let's say if your service or product is going to help us improve guest satisfaction score by 1%. Surely Marriott will work with it. Okay? And there are many other factors. Guest satisfaction score is one of the parameters. So you need to really think, don't think from the buyer's perspective, think from the end user's perspective. Okay, you are supplying pickle. Okay, the pickle is going to be kept on the table, like is it going to be really get better satisfaction for the guest? Or you are giving equipment services, human resources services, or giving income tax consultants. How is it going to really help the end customer, not just the buyer, and then who is going to further give it to the user department? Okay.
In fact, I want to take this single example forward. Mr. Bhattacharya and another note I want to share. 3 years ago, I was in an exhibition called Ahar in New Delhi. This is an exhibition of food and equipment for hotel industry. There I met with a lady called Mrs. Malhotra. She comes in from a small little place called Bilaspur. I don't know which state. So she came from Bilaspur and she met me there. And then I was again like this time on the stage. She comes and says that Nitin, you know from any facility manager, can you introduce me? I said, what do you do? She said, I make pickle. I I said, brilliant. I said, do you make pickle at home? She said, yes, I make pickle at home. Then I told her, you be there, I'll introduce you to everyone. I got her on the stage and I told everyone, and this lady has come from the last board, she makes pickle. You all buy a pickle, why don't you buy a pickle from her? And she didn't know what to say. Today, this lady sells pickle to the Oberoi Group of Hotels, Stars Group of Hotels, and ITC Hotels. Can you imagine? Just 3 years ago, this lady came in on the stage. She had that guts to come and talk. And she just, a small little lady, maybe 5 feet 2 inches. But hey, she must be taking pictures of the different lines of it's a big thing. So, I really don't know whether I'm representing this Fortune 500 companies. I'm talking on behalf of the industry, hospitality industry, which comprises of different brands. What I want to tell you all is, have faith in yourself. Have something which is different, and you will be body part, whether you're a man or a woman. Have a product which will be bought and which will be picked up as well.
Absolutely rightly said. And that takes me to the next set of questions. And this has been in the media mantra lately, Made in India. Mr. Modi has been going all over the world like a rock star actually. And whichever country is going, it's like more of a media frenzy because he's talking. One, he's being taken seriously. They see a big change coming in India. And that's why MNCs are actually coming from all of these Western countries to India because they have access to 1.3 billion population. And if we can just get 10%, that's more than enough to begin with. So my next question to you is, Make in India is the mantra for the global companies that Mr. Narendra Modi is building on. How do you think women entrepreneurs can benefit with it? Number one. Second thing is, as much as export is important and government gives a lot of benefits in doing any kinds of exports, wouldn't touching 1.3 billion make more sense than only looking for something outside? As much as it is important, I mean, we connect his stands for that, believe me, I don't say no to it. All I'm trying to say is, where and how can women entrepreneurs compete in that global space while we do Make in India brand that Mr. Modi is hampering upon and Mr. Modi is promoting?
Okay, I think it's a very good question. And what I can give some real life couple of examples. What happened in Marriott very recently. Marriott has a global contract with some of the linen supply companies, where linen is produced either in China or in US, whatever the way, it goes through various different parts of the country and then it's imported into India. So, about 2 years before, actually there was a very clear plan of how much we can reduce the imports and then how we can really work out with the global logistics suppliers so that it is going to be good for them. So we had a plan of working towards linen and room amenities. Room amenities, if you know that, the ball gel, body shampoo, soap and other things which are being imported. Cheese meat products. So some of the categories what we, and also like some of the non-food products, what we really focus. And then today I can say that we have contracted with linen, we have approved 3 linen suppliers who are based out of India. So every hotel, if you know the hotel structure, like every hotel has a room where there is a bed linen, bath linen, and also like pool linen, a lot of things which is required, which was always been imported. So from last 6 months, you can see that there are suppliers who are globally purchased, and one of the women entrepreneurs is one of the selected suppliers. So in the whole process, we took a kind of proposals from 15 different suppliers, and from 15 it has become 11, 11 to 7, 7 to 5, 5 we have shortlisted 3. Okay, so you need to understand that in these 15, there were at least 3 or 4 women entrepreneurs, women business owners were there. But without unknowingly, by then we were not connected with WeConnect. We have selected actually through the process. We have selected Wellspun. Wellspun is one of the women entrepreneurs, okay? And we selected other 2 companies, okay, who are actually not women, but they are actually Indian companies. So to give a kind of very clear plan is that today it's not just about should be a now current Indian Prime Minister, but most of the companies, even based on their past experience, intention is always to see how much locally you can do. But surely that requires a quality parameter, meeting of quality standards, and surely price parameter. And like Blue Community, same thing, like we were importing from abroad, there is a company called from USA, is they were producing in China and taking USA and supplying it. So we met about 9 different suppliers, and then from 9 we shortlisted one supplier. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that there is as much as a huge opportunities. There is also like you need to get yourself to compete with these 9 local suppliers on 15 local suppliers. That's where for a generic product. But like Nitin said, if you have a specific USP on your product and you're already just people want to just get in and start buying.
What I understand correctly is as long as you can bring the same quality that you are importing from outside, as long as we can provide the same quality and same, and we have the scale-up capabilities. That is one big thing that I think needs to be understood while touching the big organizations. Their orders will not be 10, 15,000. Their orders will be in 100,000 or 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 5 lakh. So as long as that is there, then you think that you would be, in fact, any organization would like to source it locally than to get through or import it and serve the people there. Thank you so much. Would there be a similar impact because Royal Bank of Scotland itself is a MNC company and it is based out of UK, and that you see obviously your bank sees a big potential of these SMEs and even the big corporates here as well as the big population. I mean, so would you would you be also on the similar lines, or is there some other strategies at the bank?
Exactly same. As long as we are able to get the right quality mix from the local market, before getting, it's not something that you are dependent 100% on a global supplier for each and every commodity that you have in this business. For example, if I look for technology services, for example, I look for these large giants in the industry, right? So most of the technology services, if you see, comes from India, because we have Infosys, all of those clients who support the local platforms, so they are on-site clients in the industry. So India itself is a large potential for such sectors. Coming to what is that comes in the way low scale or medium scale buying from bank managers. It's more to do with in terms of your prosperity which India has also set up. For example, if you should get for example, you have perfumes, right? You have washers, right? You have, for example, presidency service. I have in my number of equipment, not necessarily global supplier. We have a lot of learning and growth with suppliers in the Indian origins, and we just started off from last 2 years. There are very good talents in the Indian market. So large corporates who end up paying a huge amount of money are paying some royalty to the Indian partners and picking up a local company. It's worthwhile working with the same partners locally and avoid that. For example, I may be having a global partner based on a UK, for example, and the execution of the services happens to the local partner in India. There is a payout of a royalty, right? Why do I necessarily go and have a contract with the UK supplier? That's an example. When I have a tie with the local market, it saves some money. Because end of the day, the delivery of service happens to the local market. So there are a lot of potentials in that. There is always an opportunity for the local market. And it's a side effect. We can have this. I'm absolutely sure that this is a positive approach of Prime Minister's period plan.
Thank you so much. I understand, and especially in your sector, it means a lot, sir, because basically banking is all about trust. We hear all these news bulletins many a times that the database was compromised and the Visa cards or Mastercards were all over the places. So obviously this makes a lot of positive impact on all of us who might be supplying their services to banking, that they are not just taking decisions on any 1 or 2 incidences. They still would like to see us coming there and supplying their services or any products, as long as they meet the basic criteria of trust and relationship in the banking industry.
Actually, just to add one, it talks about something how much risk that we control, or risk and control that we go for. For example, I am a bank. If I am hiring a supplier, for example, for managing my data business, for example, can I compromise on that? Definitely I can't compromise because one single breach and your risk. But what could be something which is a low risk product or a service which I can look for in the local market? It isn't required larger risk and control. Definitely. And the uppermost and most important is sustainability. Because every now and then, for example, if I get an opportunity to some supplier for whatever reason, and if he is unable to sustain that, I'm not going to hunt for a different supplier every time I have to work. So the foundation has to be absolutely clear, the long-term vision has to be absolutely clear. Even if it's you're ready for something at this point of time, one thing has to be kept in mind: how does it put my client at risk? So am I helping my client or am I helping myself in this situation? So the client has to be first, for me, the customer is at risk. So as long as my customer is safe, secure, and happy, I don't care.
Thank you so much. I would want the, or should I put you on the hot spot right now?
No, I want to talk. Whether make in India or make out of India, every organization has specifications. So you need to follow that. Whether the product is made in Borivali, Bhiwandi or maybe in US, every organization has to follow. Like when Mr. Paringaran talked about guest amenities. So he talked about a bottle made out of PET, a bottle containing a particular type of say chemical. It should be of this pH, it should be of this color, fragrance. So all of that is specified explicitly. So whether you make it here or there, but you need to match that absolutely to the T. So that is very, very, if you can do it, and if your pricing levels are acceptable, if your consistency and if you are able to scale it up, then why not? But many times Indian suppliers do not give that business product match. They do not give. I did 4 pre-openings in Bombay. I opened Grand Hyatt, Westwood, opened in the Taj London. So there we used to think, chalo import karne ke bajaye local खरीदते हैं. But then that local product always worked out. At the end of the usage, then they said, oh my God, I wish we had imported. Nowadays there are suppliers who started giving similar quality, I would say, but still the finishing still needs a lot of improvement.
I agree with you, and especially the Indian diaspora of industrialists wherein the jugaad technology or wherein the chalta hai concept, which has been actually now been written by the management books and management saying that this works. I don't think it works here for the long term. So, as much as we would like to get things done, maybe that one first order, maybe second order or third order, and then it just dies off. It is not sustainable. So, as long as we are able to sustain all the things, I think there could be a bigger impact. And, we actually, we should be going out from here and become an MNC in any other country rather than the other way. And believe me, China became a $1 trillion company only based on that. So why not us, maybe let us take that pledge as women entrepreneurs, because basically we are truthful at heart. I'm not saying the other way for the men, but generally women, but relatively women, they won't compromise so easily. So maybe this might be something that I think that we can take, and let us take things here seriously, get it done to the best of the best, and maybe we should export it out and become an MNCs to those countries.
I just would like to add one point here. See, what we try to look at is this cost of product itself. For example, let's say you are supplying computers, or you are supplying linen, or you are supplying maybe pin, or you are supplying maybe flowers. Okay? It's not just about the buying price. Okay? Tomorrow when the product is going through the life cycle, and then when it is actually redundant, okay? What is the, how much we also spend in terms of disposing of it. Okay? For example, there are some big, if you get into the websites and all, there are some of the good, examples are there where some companies comes back and then take the, for example, empty bottles back or broken laptops back, okay? And then they take it back and then they dump it in a more systematic and approved manner, okay? So it is not, see when I say about cost should be competitive, don't think that you should be cheap, okay? You need to think in terms of your whole value cycle, in terms of the whole life cycle of the product. Are you really showing a value to the organization in terms of either your disposal value is low or disposal risk is low? Or is it that instead of you using a linen for, let's say, 1 year, you can use your product, you can use for 1.6 years, 1.5 years. Okay, so that what will make your price is slightly higher, but when you show a value to them in terms of, the life cycle value is lesser, then people will appreciate and they look at your product more, they get a lot of respect.
Thank you so much. And before I would like to open it to the audience. Actually, I want to hear what you guys think down there. And I'm hoping we have created enough electricity out there that there are many questions there. But before we go, there is one last question, and that puts them into the hot seat. Starting from Nitin, have you developed any women entrepreneur? Have you helped any women entrepreneur or a women-based enterprise?
Actually, I'm not the right person to answer because I said 3 years ago we have looked at women. So I said yes, we have. But more than that, ladies, you need to know that there are already silent suppliers who are women in industry. In hospitality, there's too many. What happens is they run their businesses from their home. They still think to make Khanabadari ways in a supply chain. So they put they get somebody at a team level and chalo घर में ये बना है, ये मेरी factory में से जा रहा है, go and deliver. So that man comes in a shabby dress attire, he delivers and goes. So that impression which that woman could have created of that absolutely brilliant product goes down. So because everything counts. Whether you deliver a product in the same product in a nicely packed parcel and a person very well dressed and comes and delivers, that's a different perception. But the same product is छोटा बंदा who doesn't even know what it is. When you ask him and he comes and delivers, gaya. So everything counts. Every touch point is very, very important. Whether you call the person, whether you send an email, whether he comes and meets you or you come and meet, or whether somebody goes and delivers your vehicle, your invoicing, your errors, all of that counts. So we have developed a lot of women entrepreneurs, and I'm very happy. I deal with Cancer Patient Aid Association in Bombay. There is Manju who deals, and then they give a lot of business to them. They make small little napkins, they make towels, and even linen for us. We buy from them for the industry. It's not that just one hotel. A lot of hotels buy from them. So through that we help them. So that's a very, very good example which I can say. There is a lady called Sapna Damani who owns a company called Prerna. She makes the bathroom slippers. She makes also certain jewelers and things like that. So she's there. And then in food products there is Manju. There are several other people who are there. And I'm happy that they deal with it. Sir.
So in RPS, typically we don't discriminate the diversity of any suppliers because we want to give equal opportunities to all of the potential producers or any services. We don't straight away visit any one of them. Any diversity, one Indian group or English one, or for that matter, even there are all very small industries that goes on. So idea is to take up with them and bring them back in the side. So in that way, you see there will be a lot of concerns in our space, directly or indirectly, because we work in tier 1 and tier 2 customers. What does a tier 1 mean? Tier 1 is a direct contact with companies that we hold. And within that, there are tier 2 suppliers that we support those tier 1 suppliers to deliver. It's a part of an outsourcing strategy. So in our case, we talk typically about whether we have groomed any entrepreneur. So technically, that's not the practice that we go ahead and do it. Yes, they are taken to the journey where they come back and start developing their own skills based on the exposure that has happened in these particular companies. We don't actually say, okay, fine, you are a years old company, you are an entrepreneur. Sorry, I can't take you. So it's not like it's okay, fine, we have process. Here is the process. Please go through it, discuss, understand. We'll let you know whether the efficiencies in the gaps and why we are moving ahead with different suppliers and that may be a enterprise. So as of now, we don't have something here. being part of it. We need to create those partnerships, more engaging, with more distribution. And I would recommend all of you, whatever your connections are, expect them, all of them to go through these organizations process, put your best foot forward, come with an evaluation there, you keep on engaging time and again. Maybe not this year, maybe after 2 years, 3 years. At least you will be aware about what is that I'm facing at this point of time, and you will actually plan your life cycle of the business after 3 years of years, and I'm sure you will have some common characteristics from there in the 3 years.
Mr. Shah, I think there's a very, very wonderful point that he has brought together again with what Mr. Pankaj told us. There's a continuous development program. So what he means is like, what I understood is that not just me and all, but that if you are not even tier 1 supplier, then tier 2 supplier, if you can be, then there is actually that continuous development program at RBS that you can access to and become the tier 1 supplier. It will take time. Each industry has its own hiccups, and banking will have its bigger hiccups because they develop more on the relationships and the trust. So there is a hope and scope that we can always go from tier 2 to tier 1 and then become the mainstream supplier for the industry.
Okay, of course, Marriott, I don't say that we have consciously focused in developing a women entrepreneur the last 20 years of but what happens that any particular category where we are doing a tendering process, if there is a woman entrepreneur is also, because normally the tendering process happens with a kind of advertising in the newspaper, and if any woman entrepreneur is participating, we usually give a fair opportunity to go through the whole process. Actually, I think over a period of last 1.5 years after we are associated in India to WeConnect, globally though we are associated for a long time, so we are taking real steps in terms of measuring currently how many women entrepreneurs are there in the organization, and also going forward, one of the basic steps what we are trying to promote across all service managers is that every time when there is a any tendering for flowers are called, or tables are called, or linens are called, we ensure that across what is say 5 or 10 different RFQ proposals they are receiving, we ensure that at least 1 or 2 women entrepreneurs is part of this whole process. So that's going to kind of it is a fair opportunity for them to be part of the whole process.
In fact, I put to Mr. Bharti, who my ex-boss, we worked together in the company, that he invited me here. So I was also with a WeConnect to a friend of mine who came for a function from Jaipur Hilton. So I told him that I have a panel discussion happening on 12 and I'm going to talk to the women on the 12th. So at Jaipur Hilton, it's a mandate for them to buy from women entrepreneurs. I will share his contact details. Please contact him. And then, because he was the one, he said, please उनको बोलना हमको करना है. I said, okay, I will share your contact details. His name is Sanjay Chaturvedi. He is the head of materials for Hilton Hotels in North. So Hilton has a policy that they need to buy from women.
Thank you so much. On this positive note, that Hilton is ready to buy from us. Let us start to have some questions from the audience. And ladies, I would definitely want you to be very attractive and relate to your industry. It doesn't matter whether the 3 panelists come from your industry or not, but you can make connections to what your industry wants.
I would like to start with a question which I think most of you all would have in mind. Purchase managers are a very pampered lot. They need to be taken out for chicken khila, dal khila. That's a perception, and that's where we cannot compete with men, right? We cannot take them out for a smoke, chat, and get the coveted order. So something like a WeConnect certification, does it empower us to enter through the front door and circumvent these things, or is it just a perception and in reality it's not like that?
I think it's a very bold question. I think it's not just about Marriott. Most of the digital organizations have a lot of how the employee should behave, in terms of guest or the supplier or So even most of the organizations, including Marriott, if you look at the websites, there are certain email contacts, certain numbers if you think, there are such kind of, issues where you are getting, you have been asked for bride, or you have been asked for chicken, or for smoke, or okay, so I mean, what I'm saying is that if you think there is any organization somewhere, you have access to the website, register compliant, or that's one part. That's the extreme part. But I think, in Marriott, what I can strongly say that if any time you wanted to really, approach a purchase manager of Marriott Hotels, and if you are getting even a very slightest signal of such kind, please escalate to me, okay? And I can also give my contact number, so you can escalate to both of us. I'm sure we are there to ensure that you have been really, you have been treated well, and you have been given a new opportunity to showcase your product and service. And you are really meeting the requirements, so you will give an opportunity.
In fact, I also want to stand up at top. Because there's a lot is bold, but it's a very dangerous question to answer. The corruption, red tapeism, gandabli, that comes from upbringing. It doesn't come with the designation. Believe me, whether I'm a budgeting manager or no, if I was a salesperson, and if I had to do something wrong, I would have still done. So ma'am, I don't accept your question, number one. Number two, it does not validate whether you are a woman, so you are not allowed to do it, and man, you can do it. Anybody can do anything with anybody who's done it. Not necessarily a purchasing person. So as Mr. Bharanidharan mentioned, not just the code of ethical codes and code of conduct, but the person's eyes will tell you whether this man is corrupt or not. Look into the person's eyes, talk to them. First instance will tell you, do you really want to deal with such people? I don't know. I wouldn't take it forward there. Then I would just scrap that off. You just go away and deal with somebody who has same beliefs and maybe principles like you. I wouldn't deal with that person. And on behalf of HPML, we have code of conduct. We have our own constitution, which is being released on 23rd of January. There is going to be a huge bold statement which we will do that if at all a purchasing manager found guilty, HPML will blacklist him. So this is going to be a very, very big thing.
In fact, just to add to this implement that RBCD has anti-bribery corruption policy, and it has a very stringent whistleblowing policy. The first thing, in any sort of transaction or sector, first thing is the platform of the list. So anybody is attempting to influence decisions, individual has to do, for example, I may be a procurement plan, I will be sitting in the business. I cannot actually be partnering with so if there is anything that is already an ethical code of conduct, which may be a bad foundation for any position, you should absolutely look at it. So from an RBI's point of view, my view on human rights, I think to come across such instances, straight away whistleblowing. Being a procurement guy is very important for us. That the Supreme is whatever we do has to qualify. So whether I am correct man or not, it doesn't come to the profession at all. Maybe I am driving a car, for example, because example I car to the police. I would like to drive it, right? And that's personal. So any profession that we have, guys who behave in such a manner doesn't come from the profession. This is individual response for them. So as a general practice, we don't encourage the zero tolerance for this.
Okay, I would like to add one more point here. See, I think just to make it kind of, I think more and more, I don't think you can just I know about my Marriott, procurement culture. I don't know about other hotels because earlier this I know the hotels. Okay. So, like in Marriott procurement, like we have for every contract finalization. I mean, I consider some big value on contract finalization. We have a committee. Okay. It is not that we come and showcase some 10 lakhs worth of order, I decide and sign off and then we'll issue order. Okay. There is a user department, there is a finance department, there is a owner's representative, and of course, I and a couple of senior people who get involved in the procurement decision. And And then most of the time, the sealed bid envelopes are called for. Those sealed bid envelopes are opened in front of the committee, and then again the negotiations happens in front of the committee. Okay? So maybe yes, maybe if you are a very small supplier, maybe you just order somewhere 10,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees worth of product, or you have a unique product, then we follow a different process. Again, what we do is that it's not a sealed bid, but again we bring it and then we ensure that these committee members review it and then we implement it. Okay? So let me assure you that today, like in Marriott, particularly, like every purchase decisions are not with one person. So you cannot, it is not the other way also, even by taking him for a chicken or whatever, we cannot take a decision completely because he has to really work with other 2-3 people because it could be one time. But again, the user department has to agree that product is good. Tomorrow guest will be happy that no product is good. And owner should feel that he is buying a product at a competitive price. Okay, and even if it happens, it may happen for once, it's not for long.
Thank you so much, and I would like to open it for questions.
That was a fabulous discussion. Thank you so much. I think it's very individual employment manager. After the example and story that I experienced, it's one of the largest companies in India actually proposed me for some of the products that I do at Case Cultures. When I spoke to the employment manager, he said we have a payment policy of 30 days after delivery. Fortunately, I knew people who worked in this company and they had been paid and payment was crores. So one crore. So they had been paid. I took the decision of not working in this company, even though it's like not a job. How does one figure out what company to work with when you're working with your role and when it's not working with companies or relationships? You're working with people in your perspective.
Ma'am, it's again your reading. Your first, when you approach a company, you need to do a little bit of research on your own. As you talk to the friends of yours, similarly, understand the credit worthiness of the company, the standing of the company, credibility of the company, whether that company is going to be there after taking the goods from you. So it happens that we talk about 30 days and we don't even pay 45-60 days. But then that's not because of bad intention, that's because of financial instability at that time. It's like I worked in pre-opening stages for 4 hotels. We didn't pay for 3 months, 4 months also because there was no income. It was just expensive. Cement kharid rahe ho, tiles kharid rahe ho, pathar kharid rahe ho. Where is the money coming in from banks? So the first importance goes to the salary, the electricity, diesel. Suppliers, they'll ask at that time. I'm sorry, but then that's what happens then. So, to answer your question, it's you who need to do the evaluation. The person who's dealing with you immediately gives you that answer, यहाँ से मुझे पैसे मिलेंगे नहीं मिलेंगे. Whether the company is bad, but then that person you have dealt with him, or he's got a standing in the market, or you know about the company or the person. So that will tell you whether you should be or not. But जहाँ आपको फंसना है आपका नसीब खराब है, कभी भी फंस सकते हैं. I can't talk. तो मैं उसका नहीं बता सकता.
So let me add what Nitin has said. And the way we procurement guys who are vigilant on who there is a supplier is exactly the same that we should be doing with the company. For example, if you are trying to establish a working relationship with some company, I should talk about what is the payment mechanism. What if it breaks in terms of payment and then get some sort of a credit or a rolling credits to continue with that. Even for that matter, if it happens to be a continuous cycle, and you find a role and company has a tough time, so that may be your cash crunch. Is it something that company, the business can actually give you some sort of credit? All those things. It's part of the negotiation on a supplier of goods for the transaction. Plus, another you should be starting to TDS certificates. I'm sure from finance, even if TDS certificates, they are able to find my terms. Even there's a delay, the impact is more. It's very important for you to continue doing this, choose your right partners. Now, it may be a possibility from our side, for example, why we think about a financial stability. Now, I may be going to I'm going to the transaction and a deal where I can confirm a normal paying cycle of 30 days today. What if I'm unable to pay a single cycle, twice cycle? Is my partner ready to bear the credit of 90 days? And that's a financial stability. Or is it due when it passes? Now, imagine a situation I've done a deal with one of the large corporates, who happens to be my partner, and they are not in a financial strength. And one cycle I'm unable to pay them, and this stop of services is very difficult. So both parties stands in front of each other and say, "But you are not paying me. How can you expect me to actually do those type of overheads?" You yourself as a man, in fact, you still continue. Those type of conversations keep on happening, and like
when I see applications for new service providers, right, my business is running fine. I used to just take the file and give a standard generic reply that you have kept your application in the file and if there is a need to get back to you, I never contact you. Not that I don't want to, but because that business is running fine. This is the fact. So how can, is there a policy where you have to experiment with new suppliers, new products, that is one. Second thing, is there a transparency which is coming to the industry? Like e-auction, US auction, auction on the internet, where people can apply this question. Possibly they can qualify the supplier for the minimum criteria, but after that people can see the rate and possibly code. Because there are excessive, let's say there are excessive relationships with corporate. It may be comfortable, it cannot always be correct. It will just be comfortable saying that this guy is a supplier and we are aware of his commitment and his supply as and when we want. Who do you get into corporates with that kind of equation exists? Whether there is conversion and equations with the
I would like to see this because this is a very common scenario where we're running a very stable supply chain where the operations is stable, everything else is stable. Why do you necessarily want to jump into those pain areas and want to experiment something which is unknown to them? Now here is a very critical criteria which comes into this sense. You always have innovations in the supply chain. You want to further innovate. Now for example, if I'm using a commodity for the last 3 years, I don't have a complaint. I am absolutely happy with my existing suppliers, right? But we want the suppliers to remain as a standard suppliers, not putting more money into the assembly. So from a supply chain point of view, if I'm running a contract for example 3 years, it doesn't give me any comfort that, okay fine, let the contract end on 3 years and that's where I start my vendor process. No. It's a BAU for me to keep engaging with the market and the potential to understand what is happening new in the industry. And then engaging with, having a conversation back with my existing suppliers, having a conversation with both of you, and then finding which is the most right suppliers in my long-term strategy. It's very possible that my existing supplier have reached that saturation stage of their service life cycle or product life cycle. And you can be a startup with a highly innovative solutions for me, which is a long-term solution for me. I will start picking up with it. At the same time, it brings the existing supplier who is already going to make offers and okay, fine, I have an obvious as I come. My business is running fine, I'm running multiple crores, I need not look for other clients. We do those steps. If you see a typical RBS supplier, you won't find a supplier which is almost like 100% business with RBS. We actually ask them on a contract management side. There's a contract management process for information. Where every quarter we engage with these suppliers to understand what is happening in the market requirements. Right? Are they putting proper innovations? Are they hitting a stagnant stage? If that's the case, then there's a red flag. We expect them to have lower plans. Why they are only sticking to RBS? Why not they are looking for more people? Why RBS account suffices all their businesses? So all those are conversations happen. So typically an RBS mode doesn't take it because I have experience in the short survey. Innovation is a part of my journey. I keep on engaging with new suppliers. You may keep on approaching and say, I have a great idea with you, I don't know anything to you. But you share those ideas with me. And that's why I take off into my business and engage with you. So it's innovation journey, we don't keep stagnant. If I have a supplier, I can't do anything about it, we talk about it, and we can work. It's a way you go.
What do you see if I want to make it? I think you should ask questions like, where is the existing contract getting renewed? Okay. And you should ask what are the selection parameters. For example, if you are supplying a coffee, okay, you are supplying a maybe any example in the category. When you send a proposal, if they say that no, we have kept it in the file, you get back to you. You need to ask them back. When is your current contract is coming for renewal? When is the tendering process is going to be happening? Okay, because today, for example, I have signed a linen contract just 1 year before for next 3 years or 2 years. Today we will bring a fantastic product because we have already met 15 different suppliers. We have shortlisted top 3 based on certain parameters and understanding. We may not be taking you immediately. Okay, we may need to wait for next 2 years to again contact back Marriott and then be part of the whole process.
Okay, we have last 2 questions. I would really want to make it a little quick.
Okay, hi, Suti Valli, and I run a bank for Florista, so we do delivery of floral arrangements across the world. Hello? You know? So we deliver floral arrangements across the world. Floral arrangements, We also have corporates as a part of our client base, where we have corporate contracts for delivering floral arrangements on behalf of HR department and marketing department. So we get a list in Excel in the beginning of the month, for the next 2 months, 6 months, 1 year. So what we've seen is, for some corporates, we've been there for the last 5 years, 6 years, and we are trying to figure out why is it that we're still there, and how is this still maintaining that. And we try to make sure that we're consistent in our services and products. But we lost a couple of large corporates, because I think what Mr. Jha said, we became a little complacent in the way we were doing it, because there was no complaints coming from this particular giant, and we thought, it's quite a smooth thing. And one fine day he said, we got a mail saying that, we're not renewing your contract. So I just wanted to ask, do you have a mandate that contract should be for a year, or is it, for 5 years, 3 years? What is the maximum that you give to a particular supplier? Second is, I want to know, when we send an email, when there's a request for proposal, we send an email with a background and all that stuff is there. For a newcomer, for a new player, how can he go and pitch? Because there is no verbal pitch that's happening. It's all based on the communication that comes in email. And probably a sample product that goes in. Is it only based on that we take a decision that, okay, this is the filter, it's a product filter? Do you ever have a supply company pitching, like what happened today, a 1 minute pitch? It becomes much more easier to convince a corporate customer, convince a customer when you're actually speaking about your product. The USP comes out, much more, there's much more clarity, and you actually see, okay, this is the person I'm going to deal with, or this person's company I'm going to deal with. I am comfortable. We're talking about partnership here in one sense. So does it ever happen that you call people to pitch after filtering, after the whole filtering process?
So in fact, if you see this is exactly the same process. Answers all of the questions. So I just go to the website where you register exactly the same questions that you put across. You have all of those questions here. For example, just to answer, I have a certification of ISO 9000, right? For example, I have the best IT certificate. Now the next question that goes, can you demonstrate that you comply to it? If you say yes, against what frequency? If you say what it is, for example, then you can upload all your activities with justified those. It's not a sales pitch that we have. I happen to be 6 years in sales, right? So I know that being a salesman, I can like to overcome it, right? Just for the sake of getting an order. And once I get this order, I'm complacent. And that's why also getting Mr. Master because we're fine. What are this? It's not really running smooth. Client is not telling me anything. We have stopped engaging with this client and can you do something about it? We don't know what is happening in the client side. We have never gone back to the client and said, we have done this, do you want us to improve on anything else? Or can I suggest you that something is in our mind? So from a supplier engagement point of view, whether you are a new supplier or an existing supplier, you need to engage on some quarterly basis or monthly basis, whoever it will be, drop your presence, get in touch with us. We do invite all of these suppliers to present us, to talk to us, what is their USP, what is their thinking about it. And then we think about it whether we have any potential to provide as a business. So it's a continuous process for us. Same thing for existing supplier also, is exactly the contract management governance that we put in our place, where we have QDRs and marketing business suppliers and the business. We discuss about everything, including payments that you mentioned that my payment has gone down 50 days. It's a part of the journey. We pick up the phone and finance and try to solve them. So there are actionables coming from both sides to help us grow those relationships. Right? So to answer that question in short, is that you keep on engaging with us. If you have a brilliant idea, you want to talk to us about anything else, even if it is a great idea which is coming to your mind, which you must not be available unless you use it or not, share it with us. We are going to listen to it. And the website is a right medium, email ID is right medium, pick up on phone and you can discuss it. So there is no season for procurement. I'll put it back.
I think we just have one last question from.
Basically from this plan, I would just like to share what about our madam is she is helping right now a 4,000 work company, Western India Limited. But I'm since last 8 years, she started with around 70 crore company of retail brand, and then after 4 years she was able to take care of about 4,000 crore company. But the best part is still, she is handling the retail business and she has a lot of passion about retail business, about grow the retail business. And we can see a lady handling a 4,000 crore company, but still she goes into every nitty-gritty and nitty-gritty of the retail business. So that is one of the best part of what women entrepreneurs.
I think that's very wonderful. But I am pretty sure we have one final question there. Or okay, I think we will have a lot more time during tea that we can interact with them on one-to-one basis. And I'm pretty sure you request you to stay back for some more time after the whole event is over, so that many of us who have still so many queries which they cannot put in front right now might come out and ask me. I would like to request Sunita to give a gift of token for the panelists.
Thank you everyone. Hello. Yeah, thank you everyone and thank you panelists. On behalf of Gayatri Shakti, I've got a small memento which is actually a contribution that we make on behalf of the speakers to two NGOs, Avsara and Arpan, that we do this for every speaker. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, and we take the event further with some more things to follow on which are more exciting as was, I hope, this panel discussion was. Thank you very much. What I would gather from this panel discussion is, ladies, corporate want us there. They're sick and tired of seeing men around all the time. Yeah. So that itself could be a motivation for us to go and be there. Come on, let's do it.
Broken one barrier there. She is also a successful entrepreneur and presently managing director of Jewel Consumer Care Private Limited. Hailing from the illustrious family of Mahatma Gandhi, she did her MA Honours in Industrial Economics and Law from MS University, Baroda. Starting her career as a management trainee in Mukund Iron and Steel Works, again a men's world, in 1975. Worked for 3 years as an executive officer in Baroda Productivity Council from 1823. She was lecturer in MS University teaching business economics in the Faculty of Commerce from 84 to 92. She has a varied experience including being the lecturer in business economics before settling down as a full-time entrepreneur. Now the entrepreneurial story is more interesting for us to hear and learn from her experience. So I would like to invite Ms. Srimati Geeta Moridia to say a few words.
Good evening. And thank you, Sunita, for inviting me and speak on my entrepreneurial journey. First of all, panelists, Marriott and the Hilton, I can supply to you all of them. Because we make toothbrushes, we make internet brushes, and we make a whole range of cleaning products. Okay, let me, I have become a member of WeConnect by chance. I don't know what's going to be my future with WeConnect though. My journey, take me down the memory lane. I started from giving tuitions to working in Oak Island Steelworks for a year. It was absolutely man's word. They even refused me going into the plant, and I had to fight my way through and wear a helmet and go and see what the plant looked like, because it's steel rolling plant. And this was way back in 1975. I worked as a television artist for a while in Bombay when there was Isro TV. That was Gujarati plays, with Kalidas and so on. I didn't enjoy that very much. I went back to Baroda. I worked as an executive officer in Baroda Productivity Council, which is affiliated to National Productivity Council. Worked in a bank for a while. Worked with an NGO. Settled down as working as a lecturer, and I enjoyed teaching, and simultaneously putting up a state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Vadodara, manufacturing toothbrushes started making toothbrushes for Colgate Mountain. And believe me, that was the time there were nearly 10 other companies or 11 other companies already making toothbrushes for Colgate Mountain. And we were making toothbrushes in Vadodara. And the entire model was that they supplied all the raw materials, packing materials to you, to assemble the toothbrush and supply it back to them in the name of Colgate Mountain. And they paid 28 paisa per brush at that point. I went to them that my quality is better than the rest of your suppliers. I'm away in Baroda, please give me these transportation charges. They said a flat no.
Which year it was?
This was in 1986. So did you work with Colgate then? No, okay. Anyway, so why I'm telling you this? They used to supply us all the raw material, which was the nylon bristles, handles, NS wire. A toothbrush has an NS wire which goes into a toothbrush, which holds the nylon strength. This. So the first year, they used to give, they were really very generous in giving us the, extra material, because that was for the rejection. So instead of 0.7 gram that we use for a toothbrush, they used to give us 1 gram of nylon. And nylon is the costliest ingredient in a toothbrush. We saved about 23 lakhs in the first year. So I wrote a letter to Colgate saying that this is your material, morally it is yours, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to keep this material with us, or should we give it back to you? And then guys came over, suppliers came over, what the hell are you up? Why are you giving this material back? Because in 20 years, no one has given this kind of material back. And I think that was the greatest thing that we decided to be that way. What happened as a result? I think this was being ethical. In spite of the fact suppliers said that we will give you more price, forget that. Manufacturers of toothbrushes or the job workers, they came to us, you want your business, please for heaven's sake, don't do it, otherwise you have. And these were the words that I had to hear. Anyway, what happened was that the managing director of the company called the company. I went with my manager, and he was extremely thrilled about it, and that was the starting point. And we never had to look back, and we got business after, products after products, and so on. What happened was in 1988-89, I was able to launch a product for Colgate. Somehow something happened with the machine, and the machine broke down at literally 2:30 in the night. I get a call, and I was very upset because this was the first time that the product was being launched to us. And when you launch a product, you have to have certain numbers, in their kitchen, in their store, otherwise they can't launch a product. Because it normally is in South India, East India, then it goes to North India and the central part of the country. When I went to the factory at about 5 o'clock to see that a whole cast iron plate was broken into pieces. And when we told that there were no internet, there was no mobile, there was no steady printer time, I had to wait till the afternoon to send a message to Zoransky, which was the company which supplied the machine. There are only 2 companies in the world, by the way, which makes machines for toothbrush. It's a highly capital intensive industry. Highly. One machine today costs about 2.7 crores. Today, even at that point of time, it cost us around 16 lakhs a machine, which was not as state of the art as it is today. What happened is that we explained to them on the phone that please send your engineers here, get the machine done because we have a launch. It was December time, Christmas time, you can't expect anyone to come. Tickets not available. Anyway, I think I could manage as a woman to tell them that there was one Dr. Zoransky there, an old man. I said, you have to help me out. So he sends in his 2 engineers with the spare parts, and that's the time I decided that I have to learn the technology myself. What happened is I found that this was a sabotage. And it was so painful. Okay, we terminated the service of the engineer, but it was a huge loss to me. I went to the police station and they said you can file an FIR. 24 hours were over and they said you need to give 25,000 rupees. I did not know what to do 25,000 rupees. I had the money at the time. I thought, how could I do something like this? Anyway, I didn't pay. So I went to the lawyer. The lawyer said, I know you and I don't think you're going to be able to do something like this. Just get out of my room, work harder and make this money. Anyway, the guys came here, they were in Baroda for nearly 2.5 weeks and that's the time I decided to learn the machine. What I'm trying to bring this to your sense, I'm a commerce graduate, an economics graduate. Believe me, not being an engineer or having that engineering knowledge was never a deterrent. Today I handle production, I handle maintenance, I can disassemble the machine. Now this I had to do because I decided this is a men's world and I think if all engineers come in and go like this, and they can make a big fool of me. So this is just one lesson, and even today when I have about 1,000 employees, over 1,000 employees or about 1,100 employees, I have about over 40 engineers. I handle the engineering part of it. I don't handle the commercial. I have other people who handle. So this is what a message to everyone that nothing is a deterrent. If you want to do it, if there is a will, if there is a perseverance, you will be able to do it. And there are no glass. Now talking about my own background, hailing from the Gandhi family, I live a very simple life, ate simple food, literally boiled food. So I was brought up under simplicity, very not strict environment, but extremely disciplined environment. And I had to wear khadi, that was the rule of the house. And how I hated wearing khadi those days, because the only colors that were available were khaki, blue and white. And it certainly many times gave me some kind of a complex in school, because I couldn't wear the kind of clothes my friends wear. And it was when I came to SSC, my father said, now you are free to do what you want, but as a father, I would like that you continue wearing khadi. Anyway, I gave up at that point in time. I completed my bachelor's in commerce, did my MA in economics, did my law. I did all this in Baroda. I was born brought up in Bombay, but just stayed for about 10-11 years, and shifted to Baroda in 1962. My father put up a cast iron foundry, which was this, strong point, we put up a factory in Baroda. When we put up this factory in Baroda, we used to supply castings to a tractor company, which was his friend's company, our friend's company, which closed down. And so did our company close down. My father expired. I had 13 court cases when I was in my first and second year of college, fighting all alone. I had no money to pay the suppliers, no money to pay to the bank, the interest. And a time came when I had no money to pay to the lawyers. So I allowed all my cases to go expired. But there was one case where, GIIC, where I had borrowed from, auctioned my land and building at a fabulous price because it was in a prime locality, and also my plant and machinery, and in collusion with a builder. And he was the chief minister's brother. Everyone in Baroda, small town and small city at that point of time, the lawyers told me, don't fight this case, you're fighting a dead horse, you'll be in problem. Somehow something told me my father was an honest, principled man. He'd never done anything wrong, and I had to fight this case for my family. The day before the case hearing was there in High Court, the lawyer turned around and said that there's nothing in this court case. You're going to lose it, so why fight? It's okay. Somehow something told me, a friend took me to another lawyer, a lawyer probably, I don't know, this generation might not know about him, named Mahendra Vyas, who was in the Baroda dynamite case. Baroda dynamite case was related to Indira Gandhi at that point of time. He somehow heard me out and my brother and said, you seem to be honest. I will come with you tomorrow to the High Court. Don't give me any money, give me money only if you win this case. Believe me, I had to go from pillar to post to the Mamlatdar and to the collector, and everybody sort of shooing you off because the little girl, I was okay, I was in first year, second year, so anyway, worked pretty hard, went through all the petitions. I decided to do my law then, and I did my law after that, But, and I won this case. I won this case when the guys realized that they were going to lose, so they came for a compromise. I got a lot of money and paid off most of the liabilities. I think this is what made me determined that, if you are on the right path, if you know your members of the family have been ethical, you shan't give it up. And I think that was the time that I decided that never to look back. And I decided to put up my own company, but I didn't have the money. I got married, but then both of us didn't have the money. My husband from an IIT graduate was in a family company, and we got this little opportunity of making toothbrushes for Colgate to someone. So we decided to start making toothbrushes for Colgate. So we started in a very small way, 10,000 brushes a day. Today we make 700,000 per day, supply to export to over 54 countries, employ about 1,100 people, and believe me, ours is an absolutely state-of-the-art company. So Rita, I would love to bring your members over to see the factory. We're very proud, of course, all of you. We are very proud of the company. You said those touch points about, we are so particular. From the time our person gets picked up from the company and from the airport, we look at very fine things. And I think I owe all this to Unilever. Now I'm making brushes with Unilever and not for Colgate. Colgate is handled by one of our other family members. So, and Unilever has been a great, great partner in growth. I said hats off to them, because I remember once a machine had arrived and the customs did not have money to clear the customs because the loan had been sanctioned, but the money had not been disbursed. I called up Unilever and I told them I need some money to clear from the customs, and they immediately said, send your guy. And so that's the way, the real partners in growth, And somebody talked about corruption. I think we are a company, we are very, very proud. Yes, there are issues related to your inspectors and all that. I'm sorry, I wouldn't say, but they are there, we have to pay them the haftas. But so far as paying anybody in the government department or anything of that sort, we have never done. And it's the moment you enter our factory, it is written over there. Our guys, our staff knows, don't accept, don't give. So even during Diwali, and we don't give it to our excise card or income tax card or nobody, we just don't do it, and they know it by now that this company will not give any offers or whatever you can say. Some of the experiences I want to tell you. An income tax experience which I had. Somehow the lady, there was a lady, sometimes you say that women are the enemies of women at times. There was a lady commissioner. She brings her children to my factory. I take them around. I don't know what went wrong, and she disallowed my salary, my everything. So many things she did, and she passed a very dirty order, whereby we had to suddenly pay away some couple of crores. And now this is the time, they asked for a huge amount. I will tell you again, just come to go back to toothbrushes were reserved for small scale at that point of time. So when they were reserved for small scale, the limit was only 1 crore. So each machine we purchased, we had to give a new name. And I had 33 companies, so people thought that either kuch hera feri chalti hai, 33 companies, how can you have 33 companies? But it's a fact. It was only when Vajpayee government made it from 1 crore to 3 crores or something that we decided to merge. And today, fortunately, it's de-reserved from small scale. So we have merged all the companies and we are a single company. We are very fortunate on that now. So, where was I? A lady is income tax lady. She comes, and I have to pay a whole lot of money, and she called me to the income tax office, and she said, here are 2 brushes. One a cheap brush, one an expensive brush. So why are you charging more for this? You're overpricing. I said, no ma'am, please come to the factory. I'll explain to you. The first brush has only 1 color nylon. The second brush has 2 color nylon. The first brush has a simple cut. The second brush has a profile cut. And I explained to everything, but she was just not ready. I gave her an example that I go from Baroda to Ahmedabad in an ambassador car. I pay literally less than it was 4 rupees a kilometer. But when I go take a Mercedes Benz, probably, and I'm paying 16 rupees a kilometer. So I said, it's as simple as that. She wouldn't believe it. She passed a horrible order, and she literally made me, my 2 years, but she literally buggered up the entire working capital. So these things do happen, and believe me, the only way I could have got out of the whole thing was by paying money, which I could have, but we didn't do it because after 7 years that we got all that money back with interest, but they buggered up our working capital. I think we could have grown faster and that money not gone like this. So there are so many such incidences, so many obstacles, I remember, and those were hard times. I was hard times because even my husband's factory unfortunately went into a DIFR company, and I think I was probably my company was the only one which was surviving at that point of time. So, teaching at the university, nurturing children, working literally 18 hours a day, 16 hours a day. I think we have now, I don't know that many hours, but I still put in about 14 hours, 12 hours every day. So this is how we grew. We were earlier one customer company, only supplied to Unilever. We are today also the only supplier to Unilever in India. We are also the global supplier to Unilever all over the world. But we now also have many other customers in the bus. Bankers always used to say that you have only one customer, how do we give you loan? And that's the time we used to run to Unilever for an umbrella letter. And they always used to help us out. These days they don't go. So anyway, so this is how now we supply to Walmart, and since last 4.5 years. We have done extremely well with Walmart. I remember when I started supplying to Walmart, people said, don't supply to Walmart, they are scoundrels. They will eat you up, they will reduce your prices to such an extent, but believe me, it's been a great experience working with Walmart, with Asda. We supply to about 90% of the private label companies in US, 60% of the private label companies in UK, and 30% in Germany. And these are all private label stores like Rossmann, Superdrug, Meijer, Target, CVS, Dollar Tree, Wall Street. I mean, when you go to US and UK, you will see all these names over there. Now, what I want to do, because somebody did ask a question, working with these companies, believe me, it's a big challenge. It puts a house in order. I want to say that when we started business with Walmart, one of the conditions of Walmart is if you made a mistake in the documents, you got to pay $75. So the first time we paid $75. The second time documents we did not pay anything. Third time we again paid $75. But since then we have never paid, there have been no faults in documentation. So I think these companies, they're very tough, they're extremely tough, but they really put your house in order. We were working with IKEA. I mean, IKEA is a great story, I'll tell you something. We have a company which has got glass, it's got a 2.5 feet wall, it's glass, so if you're standing at one corner, you can see the entire company. So they come up with this funny thing, you have glass all over, the glass can fall into the product, and this can be dangerous, so you must have toughened glass. Toughened glass would have cost me some 35-40 lakhs of rupees. I can't. So we said, how do you do it? So we had a small meeting and we came to a point, that we had, on both sides we had PVC film. And believe me, I went with a hammer, hit at the thing and the glass didn't fall. So that's how it was. Now even today, tube lights are not allowed. Okay, now tube lights are not allowed to be stacked because it has mercury, which is not good for the earth, Mother Earth. So today what happens? Now we have LEDs all over. We're still having some of the plants because we do that process slowly. It's a huge plant. It needs a lot of money. So we're doing LED one by one. That also means conservation of electricity. But the tube lights are not allowed to sell. So we have to store the tube lights. Believe me, I have a whole godown where I have tube lights being stored. I'm just waiting. And now they're not telling us how to do. We've contacted Crompton, we've contacted Philips. There's no way of how to dispose tube lights. We are one of the only companies which use PET. Somebody talked about PET. We don't use PVC. PVC is a toxic material. PET is not. PET is recyclable. It was a challenge, using PET material. And believe me, the amount of work we did with the supplier, with the technology, and therefore the dyes are very expensive. Each dye costs about 22 lakhs. You can't keep buying dyes from Germany. So now I have put up a absolutely state-of-the-art room with a wire cut machine, a milling machine, a surface grinding machine, EDM machine, everything. And we've done a whole lot of import substitution in the company and making all spare parts, all tools, all dyes within the company. So whereas again multinationals go, I would like to share with you the audits. Last year we had 26 audits. These audits are really tough. You're not allowed to wear your earrings, your sort of rings or your watch and all sorts of things. And we have nearly about 120 women working with us. So it's a huge task. They bring it in their different boxes also. So especially in India, wearing a Mangalsutra for the women who are in my packing division, it's a big thing. They have a huge issue related to that because they say that हम घर से आते हैं तो अगर हम निकाल के आते हैं तो your mother-in-law, your husband will sort of have be suspicious. So they bring it in the bag, all in the different box, and while going there, wear it again because. And I cannot take responsibility, or as a company, we cannot take responsibility for the jewelry. We don't have so many doctors, certainly not for all 1100 workers. So these are things which you have to come over. You have crash, you have for women, Gujarati में उसको बोलते हैं घोड़िया घर है. The nurse है. Just I want to tell you that women have so many strengths, I believe, that I think we can do so much. We can do more than men. And with these men sitting here, what women can do, they cannot. You know, हमारे पुराणों में एक लिखा हुआ है कि भोजनेषु माता शयनेषु रंभा कार्येषु मंत्री चरणेषु दासी, which means you cannot have any substitute to a mother, her love, her passion, her compassion. Shailesh Rambha, you know, an amorous, passionate wife, they cannot be any substitute to me. Kalyeshu Mantri, she is a pillar of the house, she is the Mantri of the house, she is the minister of the house, she maintains everything. And Charanesu Dashi, she keeps looking after all the people in the family so well, her guests, her servants, everyone. So she is anything multitasking. So all of us are multitasking. And what we can do, they cannot. It's you know, we are born with that. So I believe the management is ingrained in every woman. What we need is a vision, a dream, a desire, and a drive. I think if you have that and then pursue it, hard work. You know how women always talk about Purusharth and Prarabdha, you know, luck nahi hai, nasib nahi maru, you know, all kinds of things we say, but there's nothing like that. You know, there's a very beautiful book called Karmana Siddhanto, which is all about karma, and very nicely, there's one example, a one-time example, this is Bela की family में, अंबानी की family में जन्म लेना, वो आपका नसीब है, मतलब उस मिलकत को टिका के रखना, वो आपका प्रारब्ध, I mean, आपका पुरुषार्थ है. So I think what is important is we need to persevere. We need to ensure that we are determined and we motivate ourselves and we motivate the team we have, we inspire them to work. What we have, we are flexible, we have the power of endurance, we can take the stresses and strains much more than them. So all these are such great strengths. We need to build on them, we need to explore, and that is the way we can sort of, do so many things in life. Few other things that I wanted to say about my own company. As I said, we are globally competitive. We make absolutely premium brand products. There is nothing that we make which is, less than the best. And that is our motto. So all of us women, we can do this. We are very particular. We are so meticulous. We are used to looking at inches. They may be looking at miles, but we can look at miles and inches more. They cannot look at inches. I mean, I have men working in the company who are CEOs and the top guys. I know I walk into the company and I can find 20 wrong things. So we have so much with us. It's just that we of course need family support. I think that's very important. Here again, I want to tell you, I have a couple of friends who started business late in life, and they had issues with in-laws, with husband, But I think a woman is very tactful, and she has to learn how to take people along. Do it, and I think you will be the winner. I have a wonderful mother-in-law, and who is one of my greatest friend in life. And she's been a gynec. She worked with the Tatas for all her life. She was in Mithapur, Tata Chemicals. Both my in-laws were doctors. One fine day when my son was very, very sick, my older son used to be very sick, I called her out and said, I think, Ma, I'm giving up my job because I don't think I can make it, because I'm going from pillar to post, going to every doctor, and he's not getting all right. So she said, quality of time is more important than quantity of time. If he's not well, just bring him here and let him stay with me for some time. But I think these are little things. When she retired, came to Baroda, and I asked her, come and stay with me. My sister-in-law said, come and stay with me. She said so beautifully, every woman wants to be a queen in her home. So let's all stay separately and let's enjoy. I think, and she's 93 today. But so I've done the same stay around, but every Sunday we get together for lunch. So it's so beautiful. I am telling you because tomorrow you're going to grow, and so I think there's nothing wrong in this. I think what is important is harmony at home. One thing about women, there are many women, my friends, who have had broken marriages. And I think a lot of foreign life also with them. So do everything, but without disturbing the basic fabric of the family. I think that's so important. Because you as a mother will never be able to pardon yourself, excuse yourself for not having brought up your children well with the right values. I think that is so important. And I tell my friends yes, in the heat of everything, you want to do everything, but you cannot take it home. And that's why I tell all women that women have to work twice as much as men to do their men. And we must be ready with them. If you're getting into working, you're getting into doing business, please make up your mind that you will have to work harder than the men. Fortunately, today's generation is, the men really help. I don't know, my husband would never even pick up a glass of water. But today I see my sons doing that. And I quite like it. And I tell my son, that, my God, he says, you were wrong, I see our wives are, quite pushy and say, 50% responsibility. Anyway, the times have changed and they are for good. But what is important is harmony at home is extremely important. Laser-like focus is extremely important. Also, what is important is that there are going to be always setbacks in life. Setbacks are always going to be there, and they are actually, a great driving force, I believe. Because unless there are setbacks, you will never be able to understand, the thorny route to success. So it teaches you humility, So I think that is so important. And she's talked about this, somebody not paying enough. I've had this also. But I've got my way for 4 years and got that money. You could do that. Go sit outside the company. Get your money out. If you have the source, send your people there. But I think you cannot leave money which is yours, which is legally, morally yours, you have to get it back. So I think you have to really pursue it hard, it's possible. A few more things that I would like to tell women here. 5 things that I would talk about is also let me first talk about ethics, energy, excellence, economy, and ecology. All of you, and women are more ethical according to me. But I've also found women who are not ethical. But generally speaking, women are definitely more ethical, very, very conscious of what they are doing. They are meticulous. So, using your energy, the fire in the belly, the drive, the push in you, within the guidelines of ethics, creating excellence. Women can create excellence. They're far, far better than men, believe me. Because as I said, they can, look at things minutely, they look at things, they look at inches, and also minutely. So, creating excellence, ensuring economy, but that is something that you have to ensure, and without disturbing the environment. I think that's the way to be extremely, I think that's the way to be successful, to be prosperous. To tell you also, we have adopted the village we have at our factory. We have been running the Anganwadi there. We have a medical trust going on there, and nearly 20 people from 20 villages come there, and we give them absolute free, medical services, which we call it Prathmik Sarwar, But we only take 2 rupees as the nominal, physical charges. So that's one more thing that I was looking back to the society. Whatever little you can, but give it in a structured manner, otherwise we just, and now that there is CSR, I think do it in a very structured manner. Another thing is this is a very volatile, uncertain, complex, dynamic world, and we must embrace that uncertainty. It is going to be there, it is going to be with us. They always said that think of tomorrow now and think of today and tomorrow both. So, if you have any questions, I mean, as I said, the journey has been pretty tough, but I'm now enjoying the fruits of it. It's not so easy now. Also, every morning I get up and there is some issues at the factory, and which keep cropping up. And raw material I have checked ho gaya. We believe in just in time, and most of our materials come just in time, except what is imported, nylon imported, and some other foil imported or something. Everything comes just in time. We have, as I said, absolutely state-of-the-art plant with CNC machines. We have about 65 injection molding machines. We are the only ones in the country where we have three component molding, not just two component, three components. So you see a handle, brush, which has three different colors. That is what we make. And we also supply to Reliance, Spencer's, J.L. Morrison, 3M, and quite a few. And we also now make household products, cleaning products, the whole arena of cleaning products that we make. And we export those also. So thank you for thank you very much for
Amazing. I would like to call you Geeta Ba. And we are very fortunate that you took your time off and came all the way here. And we are so fortunate to hear you, learn from you, get inspired, get motivated. Great. Amazing. Small token of appreciation. And from that, to give a fitting end to this session, I would like to invite Sunita to give a vote of thanks.
I just want to take 1 minute to talk about the studies that Quantum-Leap, Intel, and Athena Infonomics is doing in India. This study is called the Roadmap 2020. And the objective is to actually go around India, interviewing and talk to women entrepreneurs to figure out the challenges that we're facing, so that we go to the stakeholders and get them to intervene and make the environment, the ecosystem more conducive for women entrepreneurs to grow and scale in India. May I request Radhika to please stand up? Yeah, so Radhika is actually from Chennai. She's here for a day in Mumbai. So please do help her with the research, given all the challenges that you are facing. She would, I'm sure, like to involve it for the study. Please do get in touch with her over the today. Thank you, Radhika, for being here. First of all, thank you, Geeta. Thank you so much for coming all the way from Baroda. The minute I spoke with her, she didn't even hesitate. She didn't look at her schedule, calendar. She said, yes, I'll be there. Thank you very much for that very inspirational talk. And I'm sure all of them had a lot of questions to ask, but in the interest of time, I'm sure you can speak to her over tea. Thank you very much. Mr. Puraja, thank you so much for having come all the way from Delhi. This is very insightful. Thank you so much. Nitin, first time we met. I'm sure we will continue the dialogue, and we would like you to be more involved with the work the Connect is doing and also help all of the partners. Thank you so much for being here. Last but not the least, Nitin. He's the reason that we have this amazing venue today, Vera Hospitality Partners. Thank you so much for your participation, for your support. Pankaj is not here, big thank you for Pankaj as well. And all of you. Actually, this is a very memorable and very special event for us, because this is the first one that WeConnect is organizing here. So you're all very special. Thank you so much. Z, thank you so much for your support on the ground. Like you said, we've known each other for almost a decade now, and this really has been a great experience, and I'm sure we'll do more such events going forward. and Priya, our ambassador for WeConnect in Mumbai. If any of you have any queries regarding WeConnect, please do try to get in touch with Priya. She's the right person. Thank you so much, Priya. And of course, she flew down all the way from Mysore, having conducted moderated the discussion so beautifully, putting her thoughts together even before the discussion, going to the format. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much once again, and please do, join us for tea. Thank you very much.
Let's thank Sunita also for conducting all.
Yeah,